Hello and welcome to the Elder Scrolls Online 10-year anniversary celebration live from Amsterdam. My name is Amy Schlieder, Senior Community Manager for ESO.
And my name is Julian Eriks and I'm the Senior Community Manager from our local office in the Netherlands. It is my absolute honor to welcome you all in my home country here in Amsterdam.
10 years is an incredible milestone and we are so excited to be here celebrating. There's so much in store for today, and in a few minutes we'll hear from ZeniMax Online Studio Head, Matt Feirer, who'll be delivering the 10-year anniversary keynote. And after that, we'll learn a little bit more about what's coming with Gold Road, including a closer look at the new scribing system that lets you tailor your abilities in a whole new way. We're also going to be giving away an Xbox Elite Controller Series 2 a little later on in the show, as well as lots of other great stuff on our social media channels, so stay tuned, follow along, you will not want to miss it.
And we'll also give you a peek at the fun activities we have in store for those of you who are celebrating with us in Amsterdam. From developer panels to roundtables to potion making to leatherworking workshops, there is absolutely no shortage of fun things to do here in Amsterdam.
We were lucky enough to get a look around this incredible space a little bit earlier, and we cannot wait to give you a sneak peek.
And we might even bump into some familiar faces from all across the world.
But before we take you behind the scenes at the Activity Village, there are just a few reminders that we'd like to share. Twitch drops will be on for today's stream and will be turned on shortly. Link your ESO and Twitch accounts to receive today's drop, the Skingrad Noble Snack Emote. The Elder Scrolls Online's upcoming chapter, Gold Road, will be available on June 3rd for PC and Mac, and June 18 for Xbox and PlayStation. Uncover the story of the forgotten Daedric Prince, visit the Westweald area of Cyrodiil, first seen in the Elder Scrolls IV, Oblivion, and play with the nature of magic itself with the new scribing system. Pre-purchase Gold Road before launch, and you'll receive this awesome wolf mount immediately in-game and more rewards at launch. Whether you're just starting your adventure in Tamriel or a returning player, there's a version of Gold Road that's right for you. If you're just starting out or returning after some time away, the collection will give you immediate access to the base game and all 7 previous chapters. Visit ElderScrollsOnline.com for more info. If you're ready to start your Gold Road adventure, the free prologue quest is now live in-game. Head to the Crown Store, navigate to Quest Starters, and select Gold Road to get a taste of the story that lies ahead. And unlock this crab pet for completing the quest. The ESO Free Play Week is now live until April 9th. Explore all ESO has to offer at no cost on PC, Mac, Xbox, and PlayStation consoles. If you've already played ESO, you can jump back in with no lost progression. So bring your friends and venture across Tamriel together. To celebrate our 10 years in Tamriel, for a limited time, you can get the ESO base game up to 75% off, Necrom up to 67% off, as well as sales on crown packs, so grab them while you can.
We are here at our Activity Village and we can't wait to show you what amazing stuff is happening here.
Let's take a look around. I'm heading over here to leatherworking. Hi, can you tell us your name and a little bit about the craft we have here going on today?
Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone. So I'm the owner of Leatherlands. We are here today to show you how to make a personalized keychain. So in the workshop, everyone get to participate in, like, for example, cutting the leather piece, punching holes, or even polishing the edges. But the most fun part is they can put a name or initial or sentences even on the keychain and then bring it home. So it's gonna be really fun.
That's awesome. That's going to be a really fun little keepsake. I'm definitely going to come back later and make one of these for myself. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to head on over to potion making. While you're here on site, you're going to be able to do your very own alchemy. Hi, can you tell us your name and a little bit about the activity we have going on here today?
Hi, yeah, so my name's Teo at Whiskers and Witchcraft, and today we're going to be creating authentic alchemy potions for guests. So we're going to be using these little glass bottles and filling them with dragon's blood, rheum, and bile to create these beautiful color change potions at the end here.
That is awesome. As a alchemy fan myself, I am definitely coming back to make one of those, so I will see you in a little bit. And now I'm going to head on over to Julian, who is over at the calligraphy station.
So I am here at the calligraphy workshop, and could you please explain to us what it is the people are doing here?
Yeah, so we're going to be writing the Daedric alphabet using these. So this is a pointed pen, and we're going to be using the pointed pen and ink to write the alphabet. So we're going to practice with this first and then do the alphabet, and then we're going to write a little card at the end that people can take home or give to their friends.
That sounds absolutely amazing. I wish you all the best of luck. And we are going to check out the sword fighting, because there's actually real sword fighting happening right now. And oh my god, I'm actually a bit scared. Speaking of real weapons, let's check out Amy, who is at axe throwing, and see who's better at it.
We are here at the axe throwing activity on site, having a go at throwing axes. It's been a lot of fun seeing everything come together. And nice shot, Julian. I think I'm going to at least keep practicing for a little bit. I caught up with Rich a little bit ago at the tavern, so let's go have a look at that. We're here at the tavern, and this place has been transformed into an amazing space. There is a really cool chandelier, a full bar, everything you kind of need to feel like you've just walked into a cozy tavern in Tamriel. And I'm here to talk to ESO's creative director, Rich Lambert. Rich, thank you so much for the time and sitting down with me to share Sweet Roll.
It is my pleasure.
So, I have to ask you, Sweet Rolls aside, what are you most excited about for the 10-year celebration?
Just hanging out with the community. You know, we don't get to do it very often, and they're such a huge part of why we get to do what we do. And so just being able to hang out with them, chat, meet some of them for the first time, it's super exciting for us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we're 10 years now into Tamriel, which is a massive achievement. Mm-hmm. So what's been your favorite part of working on ESO over the years?
There's lots of firsts. You know, we've been working on this since 2007. So it's, 17 years? You know, I will never forget the day we officially opened the servers and everybody just came pouring in. You know, that live rush was just magical. And then obviously there were lots of other firsts after that. Lots of changes, lots of feedback, lots of iteration, but that moment is always going to stand in my memory.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so through all of that, your work as creative director, tell me a little bit about what gets your creative juices flowing and where you draw your inspiration from.
From really all over, you know, games, TV, books, you know, sports, you know, it just kind of comes from all over. And the fun part of kind of my job is every day is different. Mm-hmm. Something always changes, something always happens, and we get to solve problems.
Yeah, across a lot of different features and content. I mean, storylines, dungeons. So of all of those, what has been your favorite piece of content that we've released and that you've worked on?
You're asking which child is my favorite child?
I am. Yes, I am.
Oh, no. I think if I have to pick just one, it would probably have to be Hrothgar Orsinium. That was kind of the very first for me as creative director, and so getting to work with a team, kind of establishing that box. Mm-hmm. It also has probably my favorite piece of content overall, which is Maelstrom Arena. So just all of that whole package together was awesome.
Yeah, I have a special place in my heart for Orsinium as well. And so 10 years in, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out?
Take your time, go slow.
Yeah.
Explore, learn about the world. ESO is very different than other games, and it's not a rush to max level so that you can start to experience all things. And you just have fun, ask questions. Their community is amazing, and they are so helpful.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I know that you know this because you are not just the creative director, you also play the game. So can you tell me a little bit about your favorite or your main character?
So I kind of have two now since Necrom happened. So the character I've been playing since launch is a Templar, Stamina Templar. I've loved that character, absolutely my favorite, done everything with it. But then Necrom happened and the Arcanist came out, and I ended up making a 1-bar build for my Arcanist, and it's just kind of zen. You just kind of zone out, you play, you just have a blast.
Yeah, no, I love my Arcanist as well, and I've been playing it nonstop since we released it. So a few quick fun questions. Don't think too much about the answer.
Okay.
In your opinion, who's the most underrated NPC?
Probably the Drake of Blades.
Yeah.
So very, very cool character from Imperial City. She is a character that's on the spectrum, isn't, super socially coordinated, if that's the thing. And she's just got a really cool vibe, really cool story. And I think more people need to experience who she is.
I think that's a great pick. And so similarly, which of the 5 companions do you relate to the most?
Probably Sai Sahan. He's kind of that quiet, maybe not broody character, but tries to not let too much affect him, and is just kind of there to do everything he can to help.
Yeah. And if you lived in Tamriel, what would your profession be?
That one's easy. It's something woodworking related.
Yeah, makes sense for you. Well, Rich, thank you so much for the time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the celebration.
I'm super thrilled to be here, and I can't wait to kind of get back and hang out with folks.
Same here. And actually, let's go ahead and check in with Julian, who is talking with an ESO cosplayer who brings Dwemer armor and artifacts to life.
I'm currently standing here with Gio, which I know, of course, very well, but I really want to introduce him to you as well. So, Gio, thank you for coming to Amsterdam and bringing all those crazy props with you. But first, could you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
I can. I am Gion Crafts, and I'm a replica prop maker and costume maker from the Elder Scrolls Online.
And could you tell us what brought you into the Elder Scrolls Online?
Simply by accident. It was 7 years ago when I started playing the Elder Scrolls Online, and then I almost immediately was hooked.
Yeah. And what did you bring today for us?
Today I brought obviously a cosplay, refabricated heavy armor. Behind us is a dwarven spider, a dragon skull, and a master crafter banner. And I also have a big dwarven sphere with me. That's 2 meters high, and a little skiverton and a few props.
Which is absolutely amazing. You mentioned the dwarven sphere. It's 2 meters tall. It's really amazing. If you're not here to check it out, please check out his socials. It's absolutely amazing. You will be blown away. But the most important question of all, it's actually kind of a cute story, if I may say so myself. Maybe a good time to get Lizzie into the screen as well, because I think you can explain it better yourself. What's the story behind you two? Could you explain it?
Well, we met on Elfia last year at the ESO Necrom event, and afterwards we started playing together, we became friends. But one thing led to another, and now we are happily together for almost 6 months now.
That's really amazing. It warms my heart, truly. But can you tell us and the viewers if there are any ESO-related plans in the future, maybe?
Yes. I just released my first Bard song cover, which Gio has made a video for, with lore-specific images, and he rendered the whole video. There will be more of those coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we still want to do a duo cosplay also together.
That's awesome, and we will be seeing you at our local event in Elfia,
Yes.
at Elfia as well in 2 weeks. But I really want to thank you for the interview today and bringing all these crazy props with you and sharing also your story with me and with the viewers as well. If it's one thing that is clear to me is that ESO has made a big impact on your lives as well. Definitely. And I believe Amy is together with a couple of community members as well who are here with us in Amsterdam. So let's check it out at Amy.
That's right, Julian, and that's one thing I've heard here again and again today. I'm standing here with a few community members who are so excited to be here for the 10-year anniversary celebration. Hi there, can you tell me your name and where you've traveled in from?
Hello, I am Arkanir and I traveled from Turkey.
And is this your first in-person ESO event?
No, I did the ESO Tavern a couple years back, but this is the second one.
Well, welcome. It's great to have you back. And how long have you been playing ESO?
I've been playing since beta days, so plus 10 years, I guess, now.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, thank you so much. We're so glad you could be here, and I hope you enjoy your time at the event. Hi there. Can you tell me your name and where you've traveled in from?
Hi, I'm KPowXD, and I've come from the United Kingdom.
It's so great to have you here. And so I want to say, What of all of the zones in ESO is your absolute favorite?
Oh, that's a hard one. It's not. It's elsewhere, obviously.
I had a feeling. I saw the ears. I had maybe a little bit of a feeling. And what is your favorite class to play?
Templar. I'm a Templar healer main.
Same. Well, I hope you enjoy the event and you have a great time, and we will see you in there.
I'm excited.
Hi there, what's your name and where did you travel in from?
My name's Jacob, or Jacob Assad on socials, because you said it. And I'm from Australia.
Australia, wow, you've really come a long way to be here. That's amazing. And is this your first in-person ESO event?
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, I hope you enjoy your time here. And I have to ask you, would you rather fight a dragon-sized mud crab or 100 mud crab-sized dragons?
Ooh. You know what? Dragon-sized mud crab? Because I think that would just be an epic fight.
I definitely would. Well, hopefully there's none in there, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the time at the event. Hi there. What's your name and where did you travel in from?
Hi, I'm Dormispa, and I traveled in from the UK.
Well, welcome. I'm so glad that you could be here. Can you tell me, if you could choose only one, Aldmeri Dominion, Daggerfall Covenant, or Ebonheart Pact, which would you choose?
Very clear answer. Aldmeri Dominion. Queen Irene is the best leader.
And then one other question that I had for you. Which Daedric prince would you most likely be the champion of?
Ooh, got to say I'm a Shea Gurith girl. I just love him. His voice acting is incredible in the game as well. And I think he'd just be a fun person to serve, if not a little bit dangerous.
It would be a really fun time. Well, I hope you have a really fun time in the event, and we will see you inside. Hi there, what's your name and where did you travel in from?
Hi, I'm Ote Order. You can call me Ote for short, and I'm from the Netherlands, so only a train ride away.
Nice, so you didn't have far to go. Well, welcome, Oath. Is this your first in-person ESO event?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited that you could be here, and I have a quick question. Which of the 5 companions is your favorite?
Sharper's Knight. Yeah, I love him. He's so witty. I also love Argonians. Argonians and Bosmer are my favorite races, so also looking forward to the Gold Road chapter since it's Bosmer. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm also partial to Argonians, so I'm right there with you. Well, we are going to head to the stage. Matt Firer's keynote is about to start soon, so we're going to head on over to the stage. Twitch drops will also be starting shortly, so make sure those accounts are linked. Looks like the show's starting now, so we're going to head on over to the stage.
Welcome, everybody, to the ESO 10th Anniversary Celebration event. I'm Gina Bruno, ESO Senior Community Manager, and on behalf of everybody on the team, I would like to welcome those watching on stream and, of course, everybody here in Amsterdam. Hope you've been having a really good time so far. We're going to kick things off now with our keynote, so please join me in welcoming Studio Head of ZeniMax Online Studios, Matt Firer.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Wow, seriously. Hello, Amsterdam. You cannot imagine how fantastic it is to be right here up in front with all of you, the ESO community, the ESO family, really, and share this moment with all of you. It's absolutely amazing. Welcome everyone here in the audience and of course to all of you watching on the stream around the world. We're here in Amsterdam to celebrate a decade. That's 10 years of the Elder Scrolls Online. Let's let that sink in for a minute. 10 years, man, that's a long time in Tamriel. I mean, there's been like 10 new emperors in Cyrodiil in the last week alone. I wrote that joke. And that's what brings us here. Today we're kicking off the first event in 15 months of celebrating ESO's anniversary. Why 15 months? Because we launched on PC back in April 2014, and almost 15 months later, we launched on console in June 2015. So we like to think of that year and a quarter as an extended launch for ESO. That's a time when we built the fundamental structure of ESO that still supports the game today, as well as a time when we made some mistakes, but we fixed them. So those solutions became the foundation of what makes the game successful today. We made vital improvements that help refine the vision for the expansive world that's now home for such a vibrant community. A community that's grown so much over the years, that's played a huge role in making ESO what it is today. It might be cliche to say it, but we would not be here without all of you. So we're just not here to celebrate the game. We're here to celebrate all of us, all of you, to hear from you, to hear your stories, to raise a glass together after I'm done talking, and to toast the past, the present, and the future of ESO. So do me a favor, if you will. Give yourselves a hand, because you've earned it. That's great. A few weeks ago, I gave a talk at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco called 10 Years in Tamriel. This talk focused on the earliest days of ESO, starting with my early days in the industry, when I worked on a dozen games you've never heard of in the 1990s, to the launch of my first MMOG, Dark Age of Camelot. Does anyone remember that? The old people back there remember it. And finally, to the founding of ZeniMax Online in 2007. That was 7 years before ESO launched. I shared some insights into the earliest days on the pre-production on ESO, the philosophy that guided the game, and really the hard shift we took when Skyrim released and changed the entire world of Elder Scrolls and everything else. I talked about our approach to server structure, how we were creating custom-build server clouds before custom-build server clouds were even a thing. That's something many people don't know about ESO. The server structure is way ahead of its time. I talked about the excitement around launch, the risky steps that we took to make the game even better by the time console launched. And of course, I talked about One Tamriel, which lets everyone play anywhere in the world with anyone they want, regardless of level or experience. And I talked about our strategy of chapters launching every year, essentially new little Elder Scrolls games inside of ESO, creating content for all players, not just endgame content for hardcore players. And lots of little details we've not talked about before, but really, what surprised people the most in this talk is, and I want to remind you, this was a talk at GDC, an industry event for people who make and publish games. I shared just how successful ESO has been over the years, a huge commercial as well as critical success. A triumph which has become a really strong and stable business. While this seems obvious to all of you, because you play the game, this fact surprised a lot of people in the industry. And then why am I sharing this with you? It's not to brag about our financial success or how big and successful we are. It's to put a spotlight on what I like to say is the best and worst kept secret in the industry. ESO is a huge financial success with well over 24 million players. It's a strong business that supported the release of 10 major expansions, 44 updates, 23 DLC packs, 6 platforms, 7 languages, and so much more. So this is to say we want to shine a spotlight on you because all of you made this possible. You make Tamriel your home. You know what it's like to be a part of something big. ESO might not be the most talked about game in the industry, but to you, it is our home, the virtual world that all of you helped build. And I say that seriously. And if I may, I really want to share the success here to shine a spotlight on ZOS and our devs at ZeniMax Online Studios, the talented, dedicated, hardworking people who pour their heart and considerable talent into the game. Look, we might not be the most famous or flashy developers out there. Others in the industry might have higher profiles, and that's great. We love our fellow developers throughout the industry. We celebrate the industry, obviously, and the people who make all the games we love. But at ZOS, though, we pride ourselves on being a humble, heads-down studio that produces content that stands with the best in the industry. We deliver consistently and quietly, and that's why I want to take a minute here, right now, while we're kicking off 15 months of celebrations, to say another thank you, to shine the spotlight on you all, but also on everyone at ZeniMax Online Studios. Thank you to those who've been with me since the beginning, for 15 years or more, And thanks to everyone who joined along the way. I hope all of you here will join me as I share the pride I feel in the work that everyone at ZOS has done, and to remind my teammates, you haven't built just a game. ESO innovates, it captivates. ESO is a community. ESO is our community. And ultimately, ESO is a success unlike any other in the industry. That's once again thanks to everyone at ZOS who put so much into building this game. A few minutes ago, I asked you to give yourselves a round of applause. Now I'd like you to join me in giving a round of applause to the team at ZOS, a team that makes me so proud to stand here. Wait for it. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know it's very much appreciated. This team makes me so proud. It makes me so proud to stand here representing them, right? They're back home in Maryland and at our studios around the world, but I know they appreciate it, so thank you so much. So here we are today, part of this great community we call ESO. As I said, we're kicking off 15 months of celebration. So here's a quick look at the fun we have planned for you, including an event next year closer to home, to our home in Washington, D.C. We've got a lot going on inside the game as well, with login rewards, DLC giveaway, and more. Check out the website and connect with the community on social to find out all the latest details. And remember, this celebration is for everyone, whether you've been with us from the beginning or if you just stepped foot in Tamriel. Whatever the case, wherever you are in your ESO journey, welcome to the best community in gaming. Now, I promise you a celebration, and that starts with something new. Coming up next, a deep dive into this year's chapter, Gold Road. It's one of my favorites. We're not just breaking new ground on an area that's never been explored in Tamriel. We're introducing a new Daedric Prince, and we're debuting an entirely new system called scribing, because even 10 years in, we're still adding new systems, embarking on new adventures, and introducing new ways to experience and live in this world. And throughout our focus in the next segment, which is being live streamed, will be the upcoming chapter. But after that, let me assure you, the rest of the day will be focused on celebrating ESO from the beginning onward. We also have plenty in the works for the year to come, including some surprises that will come later in our 15-month celebration, so stay tuned for those. After the chapter deep dive, I'll be back up here with a panel of my peers talking about the early days of ZOS, how we got the project off the ground, the earliest days of the game's development, including things no one has ever seen outside the studio. You really don't want to miss that. So before I go, thank you again to all of you, seriously, for being the greatest community in gaming. We say this every time I talk. I say the greatest community in gaming. It's because it's true. It really is true. You guys are awesome. You're welcoming. You're inclusive. And we very, very much appreciate it. And also to the amazing team at ZOS, you all, the people, you built a great game. It's been successful beyond our wildest dreams. Thank you for continuing to innovate every single year and creating a world we all want to live in. So here's the 10 years in Tamriel, and thank you all.
In the very beginning,
we set out to create an online game like no one had ever seen before.
A game that invited players to be a part of something really, really big.
A world where players could explore, adventure, and write their own stories.
We had no idea how huge this was going to be.
It's been 10 years.
Come join us for what's next.
All right, folks, welcome to our first panel, Traveling Down the Gold Road. Here we're going to be talking about 10 things that we're excited about as we approach the release of our upcoming chapter, Gold Road. Again, I'm Gina Bruno, ESO Senior Community Manager for the Elder Scrolls Online. We are all so excited to be here in Amsterdam with you today, in person, of course, and everybody watching on stream. So as Matt mentioned, we are kicking things off with our 10-year celebration, and we thought it would be fun to share 10 reasons why we're so excited about this upcoming chapter in celebration of 10 years of ESO. You get it? 10 and 10? Yeah? So before we get started, yeah, I'll be here all day. Before we get started, I would love to introduce our speakers. Come on out. All right, please join me in welcoming. We have Kira Rochlet, our project lead for scribing.
Hey, everybody.
We have the one and only Mike Finnegan, lead encounter designer. We have CJ Greb, our art director for our ESO. And last but not least, we have Ed Stark, our zone lead for Gold Road. Now, many of you may recognize these faces from the global reveal that we had back in January. But that being said, it has been a number of months since we had the global reveal. So why don't you give everybody a quick reminder of what this chapter is all about?
Well, hey, a lot of you will recognize Westfield from Test for Oblivion. It's our chance to go back and see one of the classic environments of the original Elder Scrolls game. But now it's in multiplayer, and it's 800 years before. So we're going to have a lot of interesting stuff. We've got the Clovian Imperials from all over the world, but now in one of their homelands. You know, you get to see them in a lot of different places. Here they're in their homeland. We have a major focus on a new Daedric prince, Ithelia. She is a really fascinating character. We'll talk more about her later. And in fact, you can see her in our prologue, which we just released, right?
We did, indeed. Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, it's free content for everybody. So you kind of get a little taste of what's coming in Gold Road.
I've been playing it. You got to, too.
CJ, what about from the art side? Like, what's going on in this chapter?
I mean, it's obviously Ithelia, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, we get to swim in Elder Scrolls lore all day long on the art side and indeed in content and everywhere else. But the idea that we got to add to the pantheon of actual Elder Scrolls Daedric princes.
We've created hundreds of characters. We've never created a Daedric prince before.
Yeah, the chance to do that was pretty special. And you know, content and the writers, they had a pretty solid idea of what they wanted. They had these ideas about shattered shards and the idea that
three-legged critters.
Her realm was literally and figuratively shattered when the bad stuff happened with Hermaeus Morris. So, you know, yeah, it got our juices flowing.
Yeah, and it's really pervasive throughout the entire chapter, from the monsters to the New World event called Miramore Incursions to the trial. So that Ithelia theme really permeates through everything.
And for something a little bit different, the giant system that we've been working on is scribing. You can do scribing throughout the chapter. It has this wonderful, rich storyline, and I'm just so excited to see the players get their hands on it.
Yeah, we know a lot of folks probably in the audience and then, of course, watching online are really excited to hear more about scribing. So let's actually start the list there and move right into the scribing system. Kira, what's one of your favorites?
So I really love Soul Burst. That's a new grimoire in the Soul Magic skill line. So anyone can use it no matter what weapon they use, and you can get it for free just by completing the scribing quest line.
Before you get too deep into Soul Burst, why don't we give everybody just a quick refresher on what scribing is and what they can expect with it in the chapter?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So with scribing, you get access to 11 new customizable skills that you can really figure out how you want to make your own, whether it's filling gaps in your build. We wanted to give the players more control over their characters, their skills, and how they role play.
Look at it, good though.
Now, I know that's like a super high-level overview, but the good news is we're going to be showing a Scribing 101 video after this.
Yeah, in that video, Kira, sorry, you know, my dog just somehow shows up everywhere I am, even when I'm out of the country. So yeah, in the video that Kira mentioned, she'll be showing the system in action. You can see a little bit of the UI, how to scribe a new skill, and it'll be right after this panel. So you definitely want to stick around.
CJ wants to make sure everybody knows how beautiful it looks.
It does look pretty good.
It does.
Yeah.
Really good.
The art director likes the art. I'm glad to hear it.
Good.
Great news, great
The
news.
first step, actually, to being a good art director is knowing when the art's good.
Like it.
We just point at stuff and say,
Yeah, that's good. That's
Looks
good.
good.
Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Yeah.
Oh, no, Gina's dog was over here,
Oh
too.
no.
So he's everywhere, I know. So going back to Soul Burst, Kira, what exactly makes this so cool? Why is it your favorite?
Okay, well, I really love it because it's this AoE ability where you pull power from the very core of your being and blast it out all around you. It's such a flexible and cool skill that you can really make it your own with whatever scripts you choose. You know what, Gina, I'm so sorry. I think I need to change my answer. When I start thinking about scripts,
No backseat.
no, I'm going rogue.
Going rogue.
I'm going rogue.
We'll allow it.
Yeah.
We'll allow this one change.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Thank you. So with scribing, we've talked a little bit about scripts before, and there are signature scripts which allow you to apply unique effects to grimoires. But I'm so excited to reveal today that we are going to be releasing a very special kind of signature script, the Class Mastery script.
All right.
Yeah, come on.
Hey, I love that you're excited. I'm excited. So the Class Mastery scripts allows you to access passives and mechanics from your class on these new grimoires. So I main an Arcanist, so one of my favorites is the Arcanist Class Mastery script, where by putting it on the Soul Burst ability that we talk about, I can now create Crux through a non-Arcanist class skill. Yes, ooh, ah. So we have a couple others, and I'll talk about them in a second, but let's come back to Soul Burst for a second. So my favorite is the Focus script, which is a pull. So I AoE pull all my enemies to me, and then I create my Crux, and then I have a little minor breach as my affix, and I use this as my Face Carver setup ability.
Face carver? You call it face carver?
I mean, it is what it is.
That's her softball nickname, by the way.
Yeah, face cover. But these class mastery scripts are so cool. There are so many cool things that you can do with them. You can apply them to every single one of the 11 new grimoires. And there are two more that I'd like to tease today. The first one is the Necromancer class script. Now, if there are no corpses nearby, then it creates a corpse, but if you have created a heap of dead bodies around you, then you get a bigger buff based on the more corpses there are around.
That's good. That's
yeah.
good to have. Yeah.
And sort of in a similar theme, you can see how we're really leaning into the class identity for these. For Dragon Knight, this one gives you a buff based on how many enemies you're fighting. So the more enemies you're fighting, the stronger you get.
Cool. Finn, what about you? Like, you've been playtesting a lot of this content for a while. Like, do you have any favorite skills?
So I mainly play a tank. So I have to go with shield throw as my favorite. It really feeds that kind of like Captain America fantasy where you can kind of like throw your shield and then get it back. And there's actually a way that you can make it like doink off a bunch of different enemies and then come back to you. So
doink off?
Doink.
Yeah, is that the technical term?
That is the technical term.
Okay.
You doink it.
Yes.
Yes. I did the audio for it too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that you did.
Pretty sure it was replaced, but I say it every time I use it. I say doink. Yeah.
So,
hear from the
out of curiosity, how do these scribe skills affect group content, like dungeons or trial runs?
So the goal, and from the start, was we didn't want to add vertical power to the game. So we didn't want everybody to have, you have to have all scribed abilities on your hotbar in order to be the most effective. So the idea behind it was to add horizontal and utility to your class. So maybe you have an ability that does something and you wished it also added this other element. That's where scribing comes in, to add those kind of utility effects for you, but not add
And vanity stuff. I really like the way it makes my stuff look.
Yeah.
But 100%. Finn is right. Like, we really want it to be about flexibility. So shield throw, Finn likes the multi-target focus.
Absolutely.
But other tanks may like to use the single target taunt.
Yeah.
Others might like to use
Or taunt.
Yes.
It's either multi-target or
taunt. Yes,
Not multi-target
No AoE
and
taunts.
I don't know, man. You can't do everything.
right.
But you could also do pull or immobilize or any number of the focus scripts and then combine them with the signatures and affixes you want for the flexibility you're looking for.
Yeah, and again, if you want to learn a little bit more about scribing, we have that Scribing 101 video that we're going to be showing right after this panel, so you can see it in real time, see how the UI works and everything. It'll be good, and it's featuring Kira. So.
And we're going to have hands-on,
You'll be tired of my face by the end.
And we do have hands-on for those of you who are here in Amsterdam, so you want to make sure and sign up for that. All right, let's move on to our second item. Ed, as the zone lead for Gold Road, you've had the privilege of bringing all of this together. So what would you say you are most excited about?
There's so many things, but I really got to come back to Athelia. I mean, again, getting to create a Daedric prince, and particularly this prince. We really looked around, particularly our fiction team, looked around, managed to create a portfolio for her that was unique, but also nicely in conflict with the other princes and everything, because there's a whole story there. Also, she's a main character in the zone story. So we had to make sure that she had a character arc. She evolves throughout the story based on your actions, based on what she does. And that's something that's very unusual for a Daedric prince, to have any sort of, change in them. Also, how do you have a forgotten prince? Why does nobody know about them? And now suddenly, she's got followers. She's got scions. I mean, you get to encounter her scions in the dungeon. Oh, maybe you don't. Maybe I said too much.
Stealing my thunder.
It's just forgotten. It's forgotten. But anyway, yeah. You've also got like a new Daedric realm that is based on her. And I am going to spoil another thing. You've actually seen parts of her realm already. But anyway, yeah. So you've got Miramor, the realm, invading Tamriel. I mean, I think Finn already mentioned the idea that our world events are based on Miramor incursions. So I mean, she's the backbone of this story, and what we're doing in Westfield, I think.
CJ, coming from the art side, what was it like being able to create a new Daedric prince?
Equal parts awesome and terrifying.
That's for sure.
If that's such a thing. I mean,
fair.
It's a big deal, right? Like, we dip our toes in the waters of Daedric princes all the time. We've done Molag Bal and Hermaeus Mora and Mehrunes Dagon. But to get to do that ourselves, to really get to say, yeah, this is a real Daedric prince. How do we want to represent a new Daedric prince? Monstrous, more human-like, what fits the story? I hope we did her justice.
And if you've seen some of the fan art that's come out and our wonderful cosplay,
it's
overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think just based on the response we've seen after the global reveal, I do think you all nailed it.
It was gratifying.
Sure, yeah.
You all think they nailed it, right? For sure.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, for those of you here, we have an amazing cosplayer. She's going to be in the corner there. Be sure and get your picture with the wings. You can be Athelia. It's awesome.
Be Athelia.
Now, CJ, coming from the art side and designing a brand new zone and biome, what would you say you're most excited about in Gold Road?
This year was really interesting. I mean, usually we get a nice page of what the new zone is going to be when the writers and the content kind of get together and they've all agreed and they present it to us. This year it was one word, autumn, right? Like, so the idea being, hey guys, we've done wintry zones, we've done summery zones, we've done deserts, we've done dense jungles.
I feel like I've done everything except fall.
Right, we've done everything except
After 10 years, it's
fall.
finally autumn in ESO.
Look at that. I'm going to say it for CJ. Look how beautiful that palette is.
Thank you. So, yeah, we got to, they asked us, hey, can we do this? We said, yeah, of course we can do this. And then we had to get to doing the work of concepting it out and, and really seeing if we could kind of change the visual presentation of a whole zone. And there it is. I mean, at the end, we really got there. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about biomes, because there are some really new and interesting areas in here, like Skingred, for instance.
Yeah, we really got a chance to to do something really radically different in each section of the biome in Gold Road. We always try to do this where we make the different biomes of a zone different enough from each other so that you know where you are. And this year they're really 180 from each other, right? Skingrad's a good example of also taking that same philosophy and applying it to a city. We didn't want any like really straight paths in this city. We wanted it to feel ancient, old medieval cities, really tight corners, lots of roads that come together in really like triangular things. And when we did that, we couldn't do regular blocked out buildings. We had to literally craft the buildings to fit those streets.
I mean, it's really based on Amsterdam. I mean, the original Skingrad.
It wasn't the original intention, but having walked around Amsterdam a little bit over the last few days,
it worked.
Yeah,
we got kind of crazy, yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be nice for players to jump into a place a little bit brighter, like in Gold Road. We just came out of Telvanni Peninsula that's more ashy and kind of hazy. Apocrypha and Chroma Incognito, like they're their own like crazy alien landscapes.
It's like a rave or something.
Well, I mean, we did get to do something a little bit. We got to do Dawnwood, which is the idea of this jungle area that is really cropped up, overgrown, a whole section of the
You guys who played Oblivion, you remember the big jungle area in there, right?
But the idea that this happens overnight, like one day it was Calovia, and the next day the buildings are literally been lifted right up off the ground by these gigantic vines. And how the hell did that happen?
How the hell did that?
There's a quote.
You just summed up part of game development.
Amazingly enough, there's a quest about that.
That is a large part of game design. Well, how the hell did that happen?
Well, you're going to be able to see a lot more of Gold Road and its environments and biomes in a brand new gameplay trailer. Gameplay trailer.
Game prayers. That's also
it's a good thing I don't have to talk for a living. We're going to be premiering it right after this panel. So one thing that you all touched on a little bit earlier was Miramore incursions. These are new world events that are coming in Gold Road, and we've had different world events over the years that started with Dark Anchors 10 years ago.
Yeah, and really what we try to do with world events and what the most successful world events that we do are ones that encourage that organic grouping. So you have dark anchors, you have harrow storms, you have abyssal geysers. These are all the world events that bring people together. A big thing happens in the world and you're like, oh, I want to go there and I want to tackle it. So for these world events, the Miramore incursions are kind of like a grand elevation of what those were. So they're going to look a little bit familiar. They're going to draw people in. But then as you approach and you notice how these are a bit spread out, they're a little bit different. And you have to do a little bit more work to get to the kind of the meat of the world events.
Really one of our only chances to bring Athalia imagery into Overland.
Right.
Because so much of it, we do get to see some of her realm, her.
And that really goes back to the story being that these are Athalia's forces breaking into Tamriel and trying to find the lost prince. And that's the overall story behind these Miramore incursions.
Yeah. But by the way, if you didn't know, that there's a circular disc underneath every one of the Miramore incursions. We actually used that disc because it turned out so cool to be the basis for the physical item.
Oh, the little physical that we mailed it out to some of our players. Yeah,
there was somebody around here that had their piece that we were signing and stuff.
I saw that. Yeah.
Signed your Miramore incursion.
I'll tell you, I really like how each incursion also sort of tells its own little mini story and really fits into the quest. I mean, I remember working on Greymore, and I thought Harrow Storm's really tied in. This is really linked closely.
Yeah.
Well, for anybody just tuning in online, we are approaching the midpoint of our list of 10 things we're most excited about as we're approaching our new chapter, Gold Road. So let's go back to Ed for number 5. What else would you call out that you are excited about for this chapter?
Well, I'm going to jump out and say Wood Elves. What do Wood Elves have to do with the Forgotten Prince? Well, there's this whole sort of tie-in, but when about a third of Westweald got taken over by this Valenwood jungle, the Colovians called it the Valenwood annexation.
Got some fans.
They're excited.
Okay.
Claw machine's going crazy.
The Wood Elves themselves, however, call it Dawnwood. And they think this is new explosive growth was a sign that they needed to migrate up here. And so there are all these Wood Elves, and their culture is clashing with the Clovian Imperials. But the Count of Skingrad doesn't want to be fighting battles on every front, so he's kind of trying to just figure out what's going on with the Wood Elves, why are they here? And the Wood Elves themselves don't see themselves as invaders. They've just come to this new realm. So yeah, it's really interesting. And you have to discover, as part of the zone story, why this happened, how it happened, is it going to last, all that sort of thing.
Bosmer are fun for us. We haven't gotten to really do anything with the Bosmer in a little bit, and like
it's this launch.
Yeah,
really.
And they follow the Green Pact, which is this interesting sort of like cultural prohibition.
Do they follow the Green Pact? Do all of them?
Do they?
Well, that's not for me to decide. But I'm not spoiling anything.
Usually they follow the.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little
I think we
bit
caught her off
about
guard with that one.
a little bit about returning characters, because that's something that we do tend to do as we go into chapters, is maybe bring some characters back, right, Ed?
Oh yeah. I mean, none of you like it when we do returning characters, right? No. Okay.
Maybe
Well,
some favorites?
we've actually got a bunch in this story, and we probably don't have time for the long-winded discussion of how that happened. But honestly, we always pay attention to what the community is saying, what characters they want to see, what themes they want to explore. One of our most important returning characters is Baragon. He is the brother of Evely Sharparrow, who's a very popular fan favorite, and he only has a very small part in an earlier chapter, but he actually becomes a major resource for you in this adventure. We're also bringing back Laramil and Torvasard from Necrom, and then Hermaeus Mora has to make an appearance, but we have also some characters we haven't seen in a while. We have Mizik Thunderboots, the Kashyyyk investigator. Yeah, Mizik.
There's a big Mizik lover back there somewhere.
We've got.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is
We
that
have-
K-Pal?
That's K-Pal,
That's
yeah.
K-Pal. Yeah, that makes sense.
We have Narcissus Dren. How many of you pushed him down the well?
How does he keep coming back?
And then, I know this character is not terribly popular, but we have vampires in the area, so we had to bring back Fenorian. Really? Oh, you guys do like Fenorian? Okay. all right.
Obviously,
You had to
loves
drop
Fenorian
Fen into there.
Yes, I did. He was one of my favorites from Greymore, which I
Love
got to
Fen.
work on. So,
Love Fen.
yeah.
Well, if we're
Well, Fen,
talking
not
about...
Finn.
Ooh.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Yeah, go ahead.
by all means. Well, if we are talking about awesome characters and Wood Elves, the scribing questline actually has a really fantastic Wood Elf named Nalia. She is a votary knight of the Order of the Lamp. And so it's really cool to get to go on these adventures with her, find out more about the Order of the Lamp and how they interact with the Mages Guild. And she's super smart and charming and a little impulsive, which is always fun in an adventuring companion. So
I tell you, I love her. In part because I didn't have to work on her. When they do all the extra stuff like scribing or necromancy or whatever, the zone lead actually doesn't have to get involved in that because I'm doing all the other stuff. So I have not played this 16 different times. I can't wait to play it again.
That scribing quest is pretty cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
But Nalia is not the only one that you're going to meet, right? There's other ones?
No, so you're going on this giant adventure. You're trying to find out about this mysterious new art called scribing and the mage who was behind it all. And there are these beings of ancient magic who end up being your guides along this journey.
Big characters.
Yes, they are. Quite literally very big
characters.
So we got to show off the first one, which was the Indrik at the global reveal. But my favorite of the Luminary Guardians is the Griffin. The Griffin has this fantastic personality. He's basically like Magic Batman.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
And he also has a manic, adorable best friend, the fox.
He's got a Robin.
He's got a Robin.
He does have a Robin. But there's also a dragon.
I was planning for that to be a surprise.
Surprise! There's a dragon.
Well, since Finn has ruined it, would you guys also like to see the dragon?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's cue it up.
There is a dragon.
There is a dragon.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
in all of its dragony glory.
Oh,
Yes.
he's so cool.
Oh, we get to talk to a dragon again. That worked out so well the last time.
And she loves riddles.
So she's the Riddler.
This metaphor was not meant to go this far. A little bit.
You got Griffin Batman and
Yes.
you got Riddler Dragon.
Yes,
Stop
right.
encouraging him.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I'm liking this quest
reminder.
more and more.
All of this stuff that we are talking about is arriving with the chapter this June. Now, let's continue moving our way through the list of 10 things that we are excited about in Gold Road. We're heading into number 7. Let's talk monsters. So
Let's talk monsters.
every time we release a new zone, we always have a bunch of really cool monsters that we add to the space.
Sure, and when we've delved into Daedric spaces, we've kind of defined new monsters that would fit in there. So if you remember the Ruinok with Mehrunes Dagon,
Yes.
that was like a mimic of Mehrunes Dagon. He had 4 arms and stuff. So developing Athelia from scratch, we were able to develop some brand new creatures that nobody's ever seen in Elder Scrolls before. So some of these are going to look familiar if you've played previous content, but we also got to do some new things. So one of the new ones is called the Fractured Remnant. As he appears on screen, it was almost like I timed that perfectly.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Fractured Remnant is this like 3-legged, weird amalgamation of crystal and glass and attacks from different angles.
Kind of
So
like
it's
an
really
Athelia Rubik's Cube.
yeah, something like that. And so that one's really cool. And then there's some stuff that's going to look a little bit more familiar. It's called, there's a monster called a Shattered Shard, which is this giant hulking crystal creature, and it actually forms weapons out of crystals to attack you. But we didn't just focus on Athelia. We also added some new wild creatures to the realm. One of those being the Thorokar. As you can see it here, it's got some feline features up front, and then it has like a tail that's almost like scorpion-like. So he attacks you, and again, new ways with poison and stuff. So it's really great to be able to bring these creatures to life and finally actually unveil them.
I love it when we create creatures like these because, as you can see here, then they become mounts. I can't wait to ride around on the Theriker, to have my little Theriker pet. Maybe we'll get a Theriker plushie if we can get it through customs.
And the Shattered stuff actually came on a little earlier than usual.
Yeah.
Because you guys, I mean, we knew Athelia was coming, and we had beginnings of our design, and then when we were starting to talk about Infinite Archive, is the first time you came to me and said, hey, we need some Athelia themed.
We didn't ever say the Infinite Archive creatures were Athelia.
I'll shut up now.
See, I'm not the only
Way
one.
to spoil that.
I'm not the only one.
We are batting 1,000.
That we are. We're like, oh.
Can't take you guys in
Yeah, no.
anything else.
Give
you
them
wanna
more
spoil?
drinks.
Rich and Matt aren't in the room, and I'm sure they're not watching.
Yeah, just wait until our panel's at 6 and 7.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if we're still alive then.
No more secrets, right?
Yeah, right.
So, Finn, we have gotten all the way to number 8 on our list, and we have yet to discuss something that I suspect you would really like to talk about.
A little bit.
Yes. So the new trial. Yeah, there we go.
Let's just move on to number 9.
So Lucent Citadel is the new trial.
Look at how good that looks.
Look at how good that looks. There's actually a Fractured Remnant on the screen too. So Lucent Citadel is the new trial, and what we like to do, so we've done a lot of really cool mechanics in trials over the years. If you remember, so we had the spreading poison in Sanctum Ophidia, where everybody likes to poison their friends and run around. We have the mage with the super sun, Rakat's backyard, the twins that tried to teach people how to move right and left. But they still don't know how to move right and left.
I love it.
I'm that person in the group that's like, I'll what?
DSRs, the bubbles that run into each other and explode. I remember our first trip into DSR. Everybody was just belly bumping with the bubbles and killing each other. It was so great. Rock Grove has a whole other hard mode mechanic. So we challenge the team every time to come up with new and crazy mechanics, and this is no different. So Lucent Citadel has some stuff that we haven't done before. In particular, I think the final boss is really, really cool. There's the quotes again. If everybody's seeing that, keeps saying boss. Anyways, the only advice I would have to you guys for that one is get ready to run in that one.
I will say, I really like how this particular trial, I mean, all the trials always fit into the theme of the zone, but this one is really layered in there.
Sure. So the story for this one is there's a power source in Lucent Citadel called the Arcane Knot. And for those of you that played Scrivener's Hall, you'll recognize the quest giver in here. It's Kashargo, who is the old leader of the scribes of Mora, and he came in here to seek this arcane knot, and then he got his butt kicked at the entrance. So you go up and you see his whole expedition in tatters, and you have to go and basically accomplish the task for him. So most of the time when you go to a trial, the quest is pretty simple. It says, hey, go kill the bad guy. And you're like, all right. And then you kill the bad guy, and you're like, yeah, we did it. So for this one, is a little bit different, where your goal is to actually get the arcane knot and return it. So it's a little bit different. The goal, and what that does is that allows us as encounter designers to free up and do new and cool ways to challenge you guys.
I would love if we could show off some of the rewards.
Yes.
We can get from the trial.
Again,
it is pretty cool.
We love to do our rewards, so there's some really cool stuff for the hardcore players that want to accomplish everything. We have that really cool mount that's shown there.
Can I mention Malcolm taking a picture of it?
You can mention that's a Thalia theme. Yes, yes. The actual the body markings that you get in there are again a Thalia theme.
Thank you.
It's almost like there's a theme throughout the entire chapter.
Yeah.
Almost like we planned it that way.
Some really cool armor for the Lucent Guardians that are in here. So yeah, the rewards again are we go into our team and saying, hey, this is kind of what we want, and they just knock it out of the park every time.
I know your team also really loves to watch groups running through the trials and everything, figuring out the mechanics live on stream.
Absolutely,
once it hits PTS.
absolutely. That's actually one of the most fun times we have when PTS and when it goes live is to jump in and say, okay, this group's doing this trial, this group's doing this trial, and we do that. And we actually make a drinking game out of it. For every wipe, we all take a drink.
Oh.
I'm kidding, we don't do that, and you should never do that.
Please don't wipe on purpose.
You may not end well if you try to do that.
But as a side note, can I come join and we can see how many scribing abilities are in
Absolutely,
the
we
trial?
can absolutely do that, yes.
Nice.
We'll drink for every person that uses a scribing ability.
We will die.
Yes, that might be true. That might be true, too.
I don't think we should be encouraging this.
Yes, because there's not a bar right there.
There's not a bar right there where everyone is partaking in some
right
apple
now,
juice right now.
Yeah.
PR's over there like, please stop. All right. So we're nearing the end of our list. We are at number 9 for those keeping track.
Oh, boy.
Something we mentioned back in January during the global reveal was the opportunity to change the color effects of some existing abilities. And we know that's something that the community was really excited to hear more about. So Kira, what's one of your favorites that has come out of skill styling?
Oh, that's tough. There are so many great ones. There are 22 that are coming out in Gold Road, but I have to go with the Amethyst version of Wall of Elements. It's such a cool ability to start with, but then having that cool purple going, so with my green for the Arcanist and the purple for the Wall of Elements, it really makes me imagine that I'm Maleficent as I do my little thing.
CJ, what about you as Mr. Art Director?
Yeah, my choice is Meteor from the Mages Go line. It's already a really cool effect, this big blue ball of flame that comes down and obliterates your enemy for you. But if you've ever wondered what it might look like if that were an actual meteor and it were red flame, there you go. You can now switch it up.
Absolutely.
Yes. Finn, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you have one that you have enjoyed? One of the new color effects?
I mean, both Wall of Elements and Meteor were kind of my favorites.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Barrier's pretty sweet too.
Which one?
Barrier?
Oh yeah, Barrier's really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have like visuals for those, but
It's okay. I'm just curious.
I like doing everything in necro colors.
Yeah.
But but Gina, you've put us on the spot this whole panel. I want you to tell us what your favorite thing is, what you're looking forward to the most.
Okay. I will wrap things up with number 10. This is going to sound a little cheesy, but I would have to say I am excited about all of you and everybody online being able to just experience the chapter finally.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it's for them.
I mean, like, Gold Road is awesome. Everyone is really stoked to check out scribing. Like, we know there's going to be some amazing streams and builds and everything coming out of it.
Absolutely.
Now, just a reminder that everybody here at the event can actually play. There are hands-on stations, but you do have to sign up first.
Yep.
Everybody watching on stream is going to be able to play it on our public test server April 15th. So when we get back from Amsterdam, we are going to be furiously writing all the patch notes for it because they are absolutely not finished yet.
And this build, how old is this build? It's like a month old.
It's maybe about a month old.
So there are some flaws. Our team is aware, so they'll help you out if you run into something.
Yeah, it was a work in progress when we took it, but we definitely wanted to be able to bring it here so you can check it out, kind of get like a first look of it.
If it was ready for release a month ago, we would have released it a month ago. So
surprise marketing. Yeah, so as Finn mentioned and talked about a little bit, we love watching the streams when we hit PTS because that's really our opportunity for the whole dev team to really watch it and see people experiencing this stuff for the very first time. And there's just really something special to be able to see that and witness it live. It's the beauty of the internet, right?
It is.
Well,
it brings us together.
It brings us together, and with over 4,000 unique skill combinations for scribing, we're looking forward to seeing you all use as many of them as possible.
4,000.
You say that more dramatically.
That's, I know.
4,000.
Wait,
Yes.
I just like day one so I can get all you guys to help me with those world event achievements.
Yeah, there you go.
Seeing some of our content creators sweat a little bit. Like, how am I going to create guides for 4,000 things?
35 web pages.
We can do it. We believe in you. But yeah, I mean, all the builds that are going to come out of scribing, all the amazing fan art. I mean, there's been amazing Athalia fan art already. So, we know everyone's just going to go nuts with it. Exploring the new trial, of course.
Of course.
Meeting Athalia, this brand new Daedric Prince. There's a lot to enjoy. And we just cannot wait for you all to experience it. So want to give a huge thank you to our speakers here from the ESO dev team. We have a ton of people watching at home, too. So I want to give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, for giving us the opportunity to talk about this. I mean,
of course.
We work on these things for 18 months, and this is the first time we get to see people actually experience it.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, just a reminder, we do have that Scribing 101 video that we talked about. Kira's going to be showing you more about scribing, how it works. You'll be able to see the UI and how that's all laid out for you. After that, we will be doing the Origins of ESO panel. We're going to be talking about some early development stories and showing some never-before-seen content, so you definitely want to stick around for that.
Really cool. Do not miss that one. That was really
It's
cool.
good. I mean,
You want to peek behind the curtain? Definitely watch that one. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, we're going to have our creative director, Rich Lambert, on that panel. Also, Bethesda legend and ESO fan, Pete Hines. He is
Uncle Pete.
Uncle Pete is here, and he will be joining us for the Origins panel. And we just can't wait to keep celebrating with all of you here in person in Amsterdam. But first, we are excited to premiere the Gold Road gameplay trailer that we talked about earlier. So enjoy.
Westwield's in danger. I can feel it. From the Colovian Highlands to the mysterious Dawnwood. And all along the Gold Road. It's like we're a glass chalice balanced on the table's edge. And it's about to fall and shatter.
Wow, there is so much to be excited about and unpack with Gold Road. Personally, I cannot wait to dig into the new scribing system and explore Westwield. Gold Road will be launching on June 3rd on PC and Mac and June 18th for Xbox and PlayStation consoles, so mark your calendars. And while you're at it, don't forget that you can still pre-purchase Gold Road, and by doing so, you'll receive this wolf mount immediately in-game to take on your travels about Tamriel. So whether you're a new, returning, or current player, there is a version of Gold Road that's right for you. For more in-depth looks on what each version contains, head on over to ElderScrollsOnline.com.
The prologue quest for Gold Road is also live now, and we have a sneak peek we'd like to share with you. Let's take a look. Honestly, I can't wait to jump into the prologue quest myself. That looks amazing. In addition to that, we'd also like to remind you that our free play week is happening from now until the 9th of April. So bring your friends and show them around Tamriel. There's never been a better time to dive into ESO, and to top it off, there are several sales happening up to 75% off.
There's so much going on with ESO right now, and so much to look forward to. So speaking of, coming up, we'll be diving into the origins and history of ESO, so stay tuned because you will not want to miss that. But before that, we have a little something extra for you all.
We know you're all excited to hear more about Gold Road and what's coming with the scribing system. So here's Kira Slit to give us a closer look on what awaits us this June.
Hey everybody, I'm Kira, and I am so excited to give you an overview of the awesome new scribing system that is coming out in the new Gold Road chapter of the Elder Scrolls Online. Scribing is a new system that is really focused on roleplay and choice. So we've given them agency over their skills. We have 11 new skills that you can customize. These skills are called grimoires. Each of these grimoires can be customized in 3 ways. A focus script, which allows you to change the main function of the ability. A signature script, which gives you access to some very interesting, unique effects. And an affix script, which is giving you access to the major and minor buff system that you've come to know and love. But let's talk about, how do you get access? Well, if you own Gold Road, when the chapter launches, you'll notice that there are a lot of new scribing quest givers outside the various mages guilds. You'll see this gentleman, Adept Ernard, talk to Ernard, and that'll kick off the scribing questline. So we're here in the Scalarium, which is where you're going to spend a lot of your time on the scribing questline. You'll run up to the scribing altar and go ahead and use it. You'll notice immediately all of the different grimoires that you have unlocked. Here we have them all unlocked, so you'll see that there are 6 for the weapon skills, 1 for the Fighters Guild, 1 for the Mages Guild, and 1 for PvP. Today we're gonna take a look at Soul Burst because it's one of my favorites. So Soul Burst, you'll notice from its grimoire description, allows you to pull power from the very core of your being and unleash it in a circle around you, affecting either allies or enemies. So I've selected my grimoire, and I come in and I can immediately see all of the scripts that are relevant for this grimoire and that I have unlocked. So there are quite a few focus scripts that I could choose, whether it's a damage type or a different sort of crowd control or maybe an ally-focused ability. I'm tempted by this one, the pull script. It's one of my favorites. You'll notice that when I add it to the grimoire, it goes ahead and updates both my target type and the cost of the ability. Focus scripts define not only the main function of an ability, but also how much it'll cost and what resource that is. So once I have selected my focus script, and I'm happy with that, I can go and choose which signature script that I'd like. There are lots of options here, but it's really about what works for you. What do you have in your build that you like? Is there an ability that you're not crazy about that you might want to replace? Is there a strength you want to lean into? A weakness you want to shore up? The thing about these abilities is that they're so flexible. You can really choose the right way to customize it for you. So for this signature script, I don't really run a lot of healing in my build, so I'm pretty tempted to take healing over time. We'll see that that updates in the tooltip, but then I think about it and I'm like, you know, because I have chosen an enemy targeted focus script in my pull, this healing over time will only impact me. However, if I go back up to focus scripts and I maybe choose a healing focus, well then that healing over time signature script will impact both me and my allies in that circular area of effect. So there's some really interesting decisions that you can make. Do you want to have your build be a little bit more selfish? Do you want it to be more ally focused? And you can go from there. But you'll notice when I chose that healing focus, some of these signatures became unavailable. It doesn't mean that you can't still use them on this grimoire if you want. You just can't use them in conjunction with that particular focus. So we'll continue with building sort of our ally-focused ability. And I really like Expedition. Get a little bit of a bonus movement speed in there. Again, because this is an AoE, and this is ally-focused, this buff will also impact my allies who are in range. So now it's the time to make the thing. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen that it shows that it costs 3 inks. Inks are things that you can find out in the world, and that is your crafting currency for scribing. The amount of ink charged is equal to the number of scripts that you've added to a given grimoire. Since I'm scribing this one for the first time, it'll cost 3. If I was just changing out a single script, well then it would only cost me 1 ink. And with that, we're going to go ahead and craft the script. Now let's show you that soul burst in action. You can see that burst heal, heal over time, minor expedition combo is great for supporting group content, whether you like dungeons or PvP. But let's look at a few other combinations too. This one is soul burst with a pull focus, and the Arcanist class mastery signature script, and minor breach. The class mastery scripts are a special set of unique signature scripts that allow you to access mechanics and passives from your class. One more for the road. Here's Soul Burst with shock damage over time, and minor intellect. No matter your weapon or your class, if you focus on damage, tanking, or support, there's something in scribing that can help your build be more effective, more streamlined, or just more fun. There are over 300 unique skill variations just for Soul Burst, and over 4,000 combinations of grimoires and scripts coming with scribing. So that's scribing. We're so excited to see what you all do with it. I can't wait to see what scripts you find out in the world, what grimoires you put them together with, and how they work into the various builds and metas that you create. Hope to see you soon on the Gold Road.
I don't know about you all, but that Scribing 101 walkthrough from Kira was so insightful, and I personally cannot wait to get in game and try it out for myself. And that's actually what the attendees here are doing today on site, is they'll be able to play the Gold Road chapter and experience the scribing system. And I'm here with Alienware Community Manager John Pylon. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And you actually are no stranger to Elder Scrolls or ESO. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with the game?
Yeah, so I've been playing Elder Scrolls for ages. I first started with Morrowind back when I had the original Xbox, and I've played every game since then, everything that has come out. So when Elder Scrolls Online launched, I was right in there.
Awesome. And what's your favorite ESO chapter?
I love all the chapters. If I have to pick one, Morrowind just has a very special place in my heart. It just felt like coming home again after all those years away from Morrowind. So
I think a lot of players feel that way about Morrowind, myself included. And so you're here at the hands-on station. Can you tell us a little bit about the setup that's going on?
Yeah, so we were really lucky to get to provide the full setup for the Alienware hands-on station here. So we've got Alienware Aurora PCs, we've got monitors, keyboards, mouse. We've got the works to make sure that you guys get to play the Gold Road in like the perfect conditions.
Awesome. And I actually couldn't help but notice a very special monitor that the game looks absolutely stunning on.
Yeah, we also were able to bring out our brand new AW2725DF monitor. It's a QD OLED monitor, which is fantastic for those really vivid colors and those true black colors as well. It's the OLED technology gives you like infinite contrast, so Tamriel's never looked better except for when it's on this screen.
I may have to scoop one of those up myself. And actually, I heard there is a really cool thing happening with ESO in the Alienware community right now. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so on our Alienware Arena right now, if you go to aw.gg/ESO, you can join our community event where you can link your Steam account and earn rewards as you play the game, including a Karth Wolf charger mount. As well, we've got scrolls to give away and the base game of Elder Scrolls Online on Steam.
Oh, that's awesome. What a fun way to earn some really great rewards. And speaking of fun, I have a few more fun questions for you. So don't think too hard about your answers.
Okay.
Just say the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Magic or stamina?
Stam.
Vampire or werewolf?
100% werewolf.
Which Daedric prince are you most likely to be the champion of?
Azura. Next.
I should have known.
Yeah, Azura.
Yeah. And who's your hands down all-time favorite character?
No, not Naru. I'm going to say Naru. Yeah.
And who should be Emperor of Tamriel?
Sleeps on bridges.
I also vote for sleeps. And would you rather fight a dragon-sized mud crab or 100 mud crab-sized dragons?
Can those mud crab-sized dragons shout?
Yes.
Then no, I want to fight the mud crab-sized dragon, yeah.
Well, John, thank you so much for being here and for the time. We are about to go check in with Julian, and trust me when I say you are in for a real treat for what's next.
I'm here standing with Oliver, who was the youngest master chocolatier in the world. Oliver, thank you so much for taking some time for me and answering some questions.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a very impressive title. Could you explain to me and to the viewers what it actually is and also what it is you do?
Well, I'm a master Belgian chocolate chef. That being said, what I do is I make really specified chocolate pieces more towards the artistic side of things. Back in Belgium, I also make chocolates and other more tasty things. But right here, I'm going to showcase today and tomorrow what I'll be doing with chocolate in a more artistic sense. So it's going to be absolutely sick to see the response of everyone.
Yeah. And how did you get into the profession?
Ooh. That's quite a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. I was always interested in making things with food and more in the culinary world. And all of a sudden, when I was 14, I was thinking of, oh, I want to do something more with bakery and pastry because it's also very creative. And then I remember my first chocolate list, and I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And specify to more the artistic side of things, and yeah, I think it speaks for itself.
Awesome. And speaking of making things, could you explain to the viewers what you've actually brought here?
So I made the sword and the armor set of the High Lord from the update.
The High Isle
update,
chapter, yeah.
Indeed. And yeah, I'm really glad that it turned out the way that it did. Completely into detail. The only thing that I had to make this sculpture was pure chocolate and some 3D sketches. So it was really tough to start all the way from scratch, but it was a blast.
At first, I couldn't even believe that this was proper chocolate. It's absolutely crazy when you see it in real life.
I've heard it a lot. A lot of people came by and said like, "Oh wow, that's a sick cosplay, man." Until that I explained them that it was from chocolate and it could be edible to the crumb.
It's great. It's absolutely insane. If you're here to see it, it's absolutely amazing. So could you tell us what is actually the hardest part of making all this?
Definitely color-wise, getting all the colors correctly, because in the pictures, it's of course very in-depth and with a lot of nuances here and there, and also the fine detailing. As you can see here, we've got all these types of battle scarring and also the straps and stuff like that. So it's the fine details that really take a lot of time just to bring everything together and make sure that every time you look, you find something new and something interesting that catches your eye.
It smells very tasty as well, but you can smell it, of course. And could you tell us as well, what are you making here today? Because I believe you're also making something, right?
Absolutely. Not only today, but also tomorrow, I will be working on the logo, the Ouroboros from Elder Scrolls Online. Today is going to be mostly the basic shapes, trying to get the entire shape very nicely fine-tuned, and then afterwards tomorrow we're going to be more into detail and eventually also coloring. So it's going to be the size of a steering wheel, so it's going to be pretty sick.
Awesome, I can't wait to see it. Oliver, I want to thank you for your time and taking the time to answer some questions.
Thanks so much.
We have another surprise for you, because I believe that Amy is currently with our very own Athelia cosplayer. So off to you, Amy.
Thank you so much, Julian. I'm here with local cosplayer Sakura Fleur, who has made this incredible cosplay and display. This really is an amazing undertaking, and I have to ask you, can you tell me a little bit about what went into making all of this?
Ooh, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, especially tears. We had an amazing team working on this. A Little Gem from the UK, as well as Harvey from the UK. It was amazing. They all spent a week and a half to just put this together. We all cried about it because it didn't go as planned, but in the end, I think it looks really great, and I'm really happy people get to take pictures with it.
It came out incredible. And can you tell me how you even start planning something of this scale?
Well, when I saw the design, I was like, okay, she looks really badass. Those wings are amazing. And at first they wanted me to carry them on my back. And I was like, well, with the way I am and how I'm really energetic, I will hit people and just floor them. So I was like, maybe a statue is better. So we planned for this because we wanted people to be able to take pictures with it. And I was like, it's a lot nicer. So we started the process, and then we're like, it became bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're like, can we do them a little bit bigger? We're like, okay, fine. And at the end, we started crying because it was so huge, but we're happy with it.
It's incredible. And I got to say, it's amazing that people are going to be able to use it as a photo opportunity here. It's such a cool feature. And you've spent all this time now inhabiting this character and really trying to become her. So I have to ask you, everybody has their own Athelia theories. And here's my question. What do you think? Is she a good Daedric Prince or a bad Daedric Prince?
Ooh, okay, so I like a bad boy. So I hope she's a little bit bad, but with a good, morally gray kind of character. I hope so, but we don't mind her if she's bad. She looks good, so we will go with it.
Well, we will find out when Gold Road launches later in June. For now, the ESO Origins panel is about to kick off, so we are going to head back over to the stage in just a minute. And as a reminder, we're going to be giving away that Xbox controller a little bit in the show after that happens. So stay tuned, because you're not going to want to miss it. We're going to head on over to the stage now and catch that panel.
Back again. Couldn't get rid of me that quickly. So I'd like to introduce our next panel. This is the origins of ESO. This is going to be a really cool kind of behind-the-scenes look at early development stories and videos and assets that we've never shown before, from early development before we released on beta. So I would like to introduce our first set of panelists. We have Matt Feirer and Pete Hines.
I almost fell down.
Yeah, you did.
I was saying earlier, it's a little slippery.
Very slippery.
The cowhide. All right, so Matt Feirer, of course, our studio head of ZeniMax Online Studios. We have Pete Hines, Bethesda veteran, ESO friend, and super fan of ESO. So Matt, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background of the industry, and a little bit of your history?
I talked about it a little bit in the keynote, but I was a game developer in the Washington, D.C. area where Bethesda was. I was at Mythic Entertainment in the 90s and a couple companies before that. Again, everybody knows me for working on Dark Age of Camelot, which was Mythic's biggest game. We had tons of other games before that that really nobody ever heard. Although we did do a game that was big in Germany called Spellbinder. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but
I remember.
Hey!
Okay, here we go.
Oh, it's just CG.
Yeah, much bigger in Germany than it was in the U.S. But there we go. Thank you, Europe. My ego is now
faded.
Now good. But yeah, so I was already in the D.C. area. right? So, and Bethesda was in the DC area. So there were only two or three game studios there. So there was some kind of, we hired some of their people, they hired some of our people, right? So we kind of knew each other.
Yeah.
But my journey was online games in the 90s leading up to the MMO at Dark Age Camelot.
Now, Pete, what did you know of Matt? When did you first meet him?
I didn't meet Matt until we talked to him as part of the project that we're here to talk about. I mean, I knew of Matt because, as he said, like we had had folks from his studio interview with us for roles, so we knew of them. As he pointed out, there's not a lot of us in the DC area, so we tend to know about each other. But it was one of those, like I knew of him, but we hadn't met or chatted at all before we started down this path.
How could you not know Matt? So, Pete, why don't you set the stage for everybody? We're going to kind of transport ourselves back to 2007. What was happening with ZeniMax during that time period?
It was fun getting ready for this panel to actually go back and look. Like, shit, I don't know what I was doing 17 years ago. That's a long time ago.
I don't even know what I was doing 2 days ago.
But, when this conversation, when we started the conversation around, like, maybe we should create an MMO studio, or we want to make the Elder Scrolls Online, it's important to note here, by the way, like, Robert Altman, who was our chairman for years, passed away right before the Xbox acquisition, was like, he is the reason that this game exists and that all of us are here. Like, Robert's passion and belief in this project before it ever came to be was completely unshakable. He knew that if you find the right people with this brand, and he saw what a good MMO, what a successful MMO could do, he was just dead solid certain that it would be a runaway success. Now, I'm not sure we did as good a job convincing him as we could have, like how terrifying this is going to be and how hard this is going to be. Because you have to remember, like 2006, we had shipped Oblivion, right? Game of the Year. It was really successful, but like Bethesda is 80 or 90 people. And like the entire publishing team is 10 folks. We didn't even publish Oblivion ourselves. 2K distributed it in North America. Ubisoft did the PlayStation version. So we hadn't even reached the point as a publisher of we get our own games into the store directly. We had to work with somebody else. And we shipped Oblivion, like that was myself, Aaron Losey, Ange, and a marketing artist. Like that was the entire marketing PR events team for Bethesda. So the idea of signing up for an MMO and talking to Matt about what this was going to require to support was terrifying, because we had finally reached a point of feeling like, I mean, it's going to sound a little silly, but we literally felt like we're not about to go out of business anymore. Or like we're not.
Take a breath, right?
Because like, I started in '99. Morrowind was not easy from a development standpoint. We were running lean. ZeniMax had acquired Bethesda when Bethesda was in trouble. I mean, I can say that. They were bankrupt. They were out of money. That's why ZeniMax bought Bethesda. So to get from where we had been to finally feeling like, hey, like, we're all going to have jobs next year, and like we've gotten good enough at this to keep this going. The idea of taking on something that is hundreds of millions of dollars and years of investment to even just get out the door was terrifying. But again,
spoiler alert, it's very complicated to make games like Elder Scrolls.
I mean, it's complicated to make games. We knew enough to see, you make a single player thing, how terribly that can go, right? Technology and everything else. You add into that a game as a service, it gets equally knee-knocking.
What were you thinking?
This.
I was thinking this.
We were thinking this. And someday
this is why we did it, right? It's like.
So Matt, what were some of the initial conversations that you had with ZeniMax once you kind of joined board?
Well, first of all, I was hired to start ZeniMax Online to make Elder Scrolls Online. If you know anything about me, you talk to me for more than 4 seconds, you'll know I'm the world's largest Fallout fan. And I really wanted to do a Fallout game, but Fallout 3 hadn't even launched yet. That's how long ago this was.
Yeah.
Like, this was a long time ago. And they were like, we don't even know how that's going to do yet. Just work with Elder Scrolls. It's fantasy. It'll be much easier. And of course, it was the right decision. But
well, and I remember even online, a lot of people were guessing, like, it's got to be either Elder Scrolls or Fallout. So,
well, that was the only two IPs, I think.
So that interplay Fallout MMO. That didn't scare you off? That wasn't...
No, you know, I actually was working with Interplay to get the rights to Fallout to make my own Fallout Online when you took the rights away from me.
Blame Todd Vaughn. That wasn't me. That was Todd Vaughn.
And then I had to join Bethesda, and 17 years later, I still haven't.
Our plan worked.
Yeah. Anyway, so I talked a lot with Robert Altman and Jamie Leader, who's the president now of Bethesda and of ZeniMax, and really it was a conversation, because it was like, do you really want to do this? Because if you're going to do this, it's going to take a big team, a long time, right? The 2007 technology was kind of evolving and changing, so we knew that it was going to be, we couldn't make it like the same way we had made Dark Age of Camelot, which was kind of in the cowboy days of 1999 and 2000, so it was going to be a big deal, and I wanted to make sure they knew it was going to be a big deal. And so Robert's idea was, hey, let's look at what Blizzard did. You know, they had Warcraft, they had this great fantasy IP, they made a couple of Warcraft games, and then they launched that into an MMO. And his idea, Elder Scrolls, was that kind of IP, right? You had Morrowind, then you had Oblivion, and then the next logical step, you would think was Skyrim, but ESO was actually greenlit before Skyrim was, and so that was the plan.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Matt, did you have a lot of experience with the Elder Scrolls IP before all of this?
Yeah, so I am, if anything else, a 90s game person. So I played the shit out of Daggerfall, which if you haven't played, I mean, it's a little long in the tooth now, but that game in 1998, that was mind-blowingly large, and it was an amazing, amazing game. I hadn't played Morrowind because we were in the middle of Camelot's launch and getting Camelot settled when Morrowind launched. So of course, I knew Morrowind is the game that all of my developers at Mythic were playing obsessively and not working on Camelot. So
I feel like we took your productivity down a notch.
You did take it down a notch, yes. But it all worked out in the end. So, you know, I hadn't played Oblivion at the time because I just didn't have time working on Camelot. But of course, after I was hired, then I played that game through many, many, many times.
Yep. Yeah, Oblivion was actually the game that got me to buy an Xbox 360. And I don't know if you all remember, back in the day, you couldn't just go online and buy a console. You actually had to like go camp for a console. So I was camping out at Costco overnight for a 360.
Worth it though, right? Worth it.
It was worth it, I know. All right, so obviously we have this fantasy MMOG. We're leveraging the existing IP, which is the Elder Scrolls. You probably had some really interesting conversations with Pete, with Todd Howard, just trying to figure out kind of what to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, and this is the first time Todd's name's coming up here, but obviously he was involved in the discussions to get hired. But really, Todd went to his team and said, hey, we're doing this thing. We're going to start this new group. They're going to work on our IP, and you're going to help this new group, which was great because it was exactly the right message to send. So I actually spent the first 3 months of my job at Bethesda working with Todd's group. I actually sat in the basement, which is where his the BGS crew was back then.
I mean, that's where we all were.
Yeah, right. In the basement
down in the dungeon.
Down in the dungeon, and I sat there for 3 months, and we worked with them on the IP. How can we make a great, you know, not only MMO out of this, but how can we make a great Elder Scrolls MMO out of this? And so, you know, that was what eras the game set in. This is why ESO set 700 years before Oblivion, because we all looked at the timeline, and the second era had some lore, but not a whole lot. And Todd was like, you need to be able to tell your own stories, create your own characters, you know, work on that lore yourself. So we're going to give you this chunk of time, and so that's where that came from. We set up the alliances and the Alliance War, you know, based on kind of the geography of Tamriel, and made the decision to turn Cyrodiil into a giant battleground. Because it was a time when there was a lot of warfare in Cyrodiil and the lore that existed. So then obviously Pete and I spent a lot of time together figuring out how the IP will evolve and how are we going to represent the IP in an online world, which was very, very, very single player up until then. And no Battlespire doesn't count, if anybody actually played Battlespire. So
they didn't. You look, not a single person said anything.
Yeah. This one guy laughed though.
But that was a lot of it, right? Which is, you know, as Matt said, BGS is deep into Fallout 3 development when this conversation is going on. But Todd is also aware what the team is doing next, right? He has an idea. It's called Skyrim. Like, here's the high-level pitch. You know, Conan the Barbarian in the mountains and snow fighting a dragon. And so for Matt, to be able to have a space and to understand, hey, what am I actually allowed to do that doesn't change the rules for when you decide you want to make your game, or vice versa, right? Like, God forbid, as it turned out, I come out after Skyrim, right? Like this all lore-wise has to be consistent and not box anybody out from
Yeah, the two rules were Second Era and no dragons. So it took until 2019 for us to get dragons in the game with Elsewhere, and that's because of Skyrim.
So we know that you had to stick to the original races from the Elder Scrolls, but was there any other kind of requests that they asked you to do to avoid sort of breaking or bending any lore?
It was more stay on Tamriel, right? And Tamriel, for all of you know, because you're all Elder Scrolls experts, is a continent. It's not the entire world. But our mandate was to stay on Tamriel. Don't create new land outside of Tamriel, but you can go to all the planes of Oblivion that you want. Which we ended up doing, and of course with Fargrave we actually added a new Daedric plane, which was awesome, which we were allowed to do. So since Oblivion is essentially infinite, we have a lot of leeway there.
I mean, this is a pretty major project, right? So let's be real for a second. I'm sure you had like some doubts or some worries due to how ambitious this was going to be, right?
All of them. I had every worry you can possibly have, given what that period of time from '99 to 2006, end of 2006, early 2007 looked like. And you know, to Matt's point, like Warcraft was a couple of years old, and you know,
was 2.5,
was looked at as the big success. But the highway of MMOs was littered with the bodies of failed projects that, you know, those folks know MMOs and that's a really good IP, and they all crashed and burned. And like that was where our focus was, which is like, hey, we just got to a point of feeling stable, and now we're dipping our toe into a kind of game we've never done. To Matt's point, like we haven't even done multiplayer, not dedicated server stuff. Right. So just like our whole approach, and I think this is why like Matt decided to take the gig and why he felt comfortable, is that we were pretty brutally frank with each other, like Todd Howard, Todd Vaughn, myself, and Matt with each other, and with Robert and the rest of the company, to say like, if we go into this, it has to be eyes wide open. Like you have to understand how badly this can go, how much longer it can take than we're already planning. It's going to suck before it even gets close to being fun, because it's just going to be nonstop, like chasing and fixing problems endlessly. And I think like that approach really served us well, because it didn't all go according to plan, and we had to pivot over and over again. But I think one of the things about us then and still now is we had we didn't like to win. We hated to lose. We hated losing, and we were just determined, like we're not gonna quit on something just because it didn't go. Like if it's a good idea and it's worth doing and we just screwed up because of the execution, then fix it. Yeah. But don't just quit because it got hard or it didn't go according to plan, because we were so small, like we couldn't afford to place bets on stuff and go, oh, we're just gonna cancel that project and abandon it. We did, but it was only when stuff was like, that's not recoverable, like it's too far down the path, because again, the size of this, the 7 years and the amount of work it took, and like just take a beat for a second to appreciate, not just at ZOS, but across all of Bethesda and ZeniMax, the number of people who have been pulling on the rope to make this game a success, and the way that they live it. I mean, like being retired, I get to show up to an event like this now and just wow, like holy crap, look, this place is amazing. The care and attention to detail from the game that everybody from the studio to Bethesda, from John Lander to Jordan to Ryan, I mean, it takes a lot of people to make a game like this work. It's not just, hey, if the developers do their job, like we're done. Like, well, no, that's done, but we still have to get it out the door, promote it, get all these people to show up and play it. And to see what those people have overcome, how they stuck together and tackled every challenge that's been put in front of them is one of the most rewarding things in my professional career, for sure.
Yeah, and in those early days, while we were contemplating this, there were definitely conversations like, hey, we just finally got some money with Oblivion, you know, don't F it up, right? You know.
I mean, that was an employee sentiment, right? Inside of our company, it was like, hey, are you?
Yeah, like we are funding you, so don't mess it up.
We just got here,
That was
there was some pressure.
I think the first time I met Robert, it was at the QuakeCon where we first showed off ESO publicly, and I was explaining to him like what we were doing there, and we were going to show this, and we're all really excited. We've been practicing really hard, and he's just looking at me, and he literally said that. Well, don't F it up, but he actually, said the word, and I'm like.
Yeah, I mean, I remember very clearly when we finally got to the point where we were setting a date for launch and starting on the road, and Robert was like, all right, you got funding, you got employees, you got an IP, you got an engine. I have set you up. It's on you now.
Yeah.
And
no pressure.
Yeah, but I mean, that was actually great because what he was saying was not only don't fuck it up, he was also saying, like, we got you.
Yeah, whatever.
But now we handed you the baton and you have to do your job.
And he trusted you. Yeah.
He was very big on, he listened, and he never claimed to be an MMO expert. But when Matt would say, we need this or we need to do that, Robert was like, I don't want you to have excuses like why we didn't succeed. And look, we had a PC launch that didn't go perfectly, right?
It's true.
But we come out of that, and Robert was unequivocal. I remember vividly that first meeting afterwards, and we're digging into the numbers on launch and so forth, and there wasn't the vaguest notion of are we done or is this over? His whole thing was so how are you going to fix it? How are you going to address their complaints? How are you going to make it better? How do we get this out on console? Just fix it.
I totally went into that meeting, and we've been in the industry a long time, and after you have a launch, and it wasn't a failure, but it wasn't awesome either. It just didn't hit the numbers that they thought it would. And you go to headquarters to have a meeting with the boss in the big boardroom, right? And you know how those meetings usually go, right? And so but we went in, and Robert was like, all right, we got some problems. Now you're going to tell me how we're going to fix them, right? And that's how the meeting went, and that is the. It just does not happen in the game industry.
It's just how he was.
I'm here to tell you that I think if that meeting happens at most other publishers, if not all other publishers in this industry, that game might have been done then. And again, to your point, not because it wasn't succeeding, but just the level to which it was succeeding and what they expected or wanted, what they wanted is this, right? Where we are now, where the size of this community and the passion and how the game has grown. But we definitely did not have that in the beginning, and there was no looking for an exit or a way out or we tried and it didn't work. And quite honestly, Robert didn't really care about he didn't want to hear any complaints. Yeah, we got lots of problems. We can sit here and complain about whatever. How are we going to fix it? It's just work. Figure it out, do good work, and let's get ourselves out here. And we did.
And sitting here, right, in the middle of an amazing 10-year anniversary fan event, right? It's it's easy for us to talk about this, but it was a tough time.
Yeah,
it was a hard time, but we got through it.
Yeah. Now, Matt, going back to when you first started the studio, what was that like, kind of just starting up a brand new place?
Well, again, we worked for 3 months with Todd Howard's team while we had while I worked on getting a core group of employees, which you do when you start a project like this. You get about 20 people, and you find the people you've worked with in the past. So I hired some from Mythic. There were a couple from already at Bethesda that we hired. Rich Lambert was already at Bethesda when I was hired. And Todd Howard was like, I got this guy, this producer on Oblivion, and he really likes MMOs, and he keeps bothering me about them. So can you just take him and do what you guys do?
I remember that. I remember that too. Actually, Rich did not hide his love for this MMO and wanting to work on it from anybody, for sure.
Yeah, and we had the tech director at Sauce up through and after launch was Amy Dunham, and she was already at Bethesda, but she'd worked for me at Mythic. And so, and she left because she didn't want to work on MMOs anymore. She was only there for like 3 months, and then I show up at Bethesda, and she's like, "Oh man,
I'm back."
So then another, I think, 8 or 9 years for her on the game. Yeah, that image is our first office in Hunt Valley, Maryland.
Yeah.
So it was already a Bethesda office. That was where they did their drag racing games.
Yeah, we had like
Bethesda
there were
drag
3
racing
people.
Yeah, it's like a
Yep.
3-person
Yeah,
team
yeah.
up there making a drag racing game.
Yeah, so we moved up there, and our team started, and the first hire we made when we went there was a receptionist, which was Gina.
Me.
In 2008. So Gina started as our receptionist, and then of course worked her way up, and now you see where she is.
So when you started,
original team member.
your studio
Number
is
6.
Yeah.
number 6.
Number 6 or 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how big is your studio initially? Like what size did you sort of grow it to?
We grew to way too many for that space.
Oh, we had people sitting in the hallway next to the bathroom on folding tables. Like it was.
Yeah.
Hey.
But it's not it's not like
he was there.
It's not like 200, right?
Yeah,
like it's like 20, 30 people somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was very crowded and very smelly, but
Well, there were only 2 bathrooms, and they were unisex. So, like, I was the only woman for a long time, and boy, let me tell you, I would frequently walk across the street to Starbucks and use their bathroom.
Yeah, so, but that was how startups worked, and we got our bigger office built out, and then we were off and running after that.
Now, Matt, I imagine for kind of the core team, you had some individuals already kind of envisioned of who you wanted to tap, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah, I had people from Mythic. I called people I knew from other companies. Andrew Boyd, sitting in the front row there, who I knew from Kesmai many years before. So he came on board. It's just funny how game development works. You run into people everywhere that you worked with. So, but really, it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up to actually work with people that I wanted to work with, build a team that I could build from scratch. I mean, I was the only person when they hired me, but have the backing of a game developer, not a VC, not a venture capitalist, but someone who had been through the wars a few times, understood how game development worked in general. And I mean, it was the perfect setup to do a game like this, right? So, that led to this, right? It's like, this Bethesda Foundation, built ZOS, and then now we're all here 10 years later.
That is
smiling.
The least straight line in the history of lines, but somehow, some way.
Yep.
So, Matt, let's pivot and discuss what ZOS and ZMI as a whole kind of set out to create with a game like ESO.
Well, I mean, this is going way back, and I think Andrew's going to rush the stage and start stabbing me when I talk about this. But the early vision for the game was, remember this is 2007, right? Oblivion was Elder Scrolls. There were only subscription-based MMOs, right? Just put your mind back there if you're old enough. So the original idea for the game was literally from WoW, take like the super accessible nature of the game. Like it's just fun to get in and play, PvE's fun. From Dark Age Camelot, of course, take the PvP system. And then from Elder Scrolls, which at that time was Oblivion, the world, the setting, and the feel, the characters, right? So it was really WoW plus Dark Age Camelot plus Oblivion, and that was the game. And we worked on that game up until 2011. And
what happened in 2011?
And I know there's a graphic for this, because my reaction on 11/11/2011 on 11/11/11 was Skyrim launched, and it was literally the best game of all time. And it was literally an Elder Scrolls game, and I was working on an Elder Scrolls game. And it was very clear after about 2 weeks that no one was going to play a WoW plus Dark Age Camelot plus Oblivion game. And we had to totally rethink what the game was, keep the game world and the stories and the quests. That was my reaction.
I have to follow what?
Yeah, exactly. Making an MMO from scratch with a team from scratch and then following one of the best games of all time is really not for the faint of heart. But so we had to peel back the layers around our great content and add the layers back in and make them more Skyrim-like. And so the game between early 2012, literally March 2012, we had a giant team meeting and had the new vision for the game, and it was basically Skyrimizing ESO. And all of you people that played or in the early days of launch knew we hadn't gotten there yet, even when we launched, and it really took up until one Tamriel to make that a reality.
So, like Matt, when you're playing Skyrim and thinking like, oh shit, we got to change some stuff. Like, what?
No, I wasn't saying oh shit. I was saying this is an awesome game.
what jumped out at you that they did in Skyrim that you were like, this fundamentally changes our approach and what we're doing in Elder Scrolls Online?
It's going to be weird, but the answer to that is everything. Right? It was like the freedom to just walk around and do what you wanted and pick up any sword, wear any armor.
We didn't have that at first in our game.
No, we didn't have that.
Oh,
it
the
was very much a
interactivity was
WoW Dark
really
Age
low,
Camelot
yeah.
game, right? And so the ability for any class to wear any armor, that came from this pivot. It wasn't like that before. First person. UI, no tab targeting, right? So in Skyrim, this is game designery here, but in Skyrim you play in the world. You don't play the UI. You really almost never look at the UI in Skyrim, because why would you? Because everything's right there in the world. So ESO at the time was very much Dark Age Camelot based and WoW based, where you play the UI, like a button lights up, you hit it, and it's like that. That just wasn't fun in a Skyrim world. Yeah. So that's our UI changed completely. We went to a very small button bar. We added the graphical tells when a monster's about to do a heavy attack on you, and that all came from that. So you could look in the world and see what was happening and not look at the UI.
Stupid question, but had we decided to do consoles by the time Skyrim came out? Or I don't remember when.
It was after Skyrim launched and sold dozens of millions of copies. Robert was like, hey, we got to do a console version. So, yeah.
On top of everything else you're changing.
On top of everything else.
More thing you got to do.
Let's launch on console. So, yeah, and that, of course, took years to do, too. So, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, I remember something you had talked about early on as part of kind of like our design decisions or philosophies was this rule of 5.
Yeah, this goes back to an earlier iteration of, and game designers did this. They still do it a little bit today, but in those days when you're setting up a new game, there's something called the rule of 5s, which is what makes your game fun for 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years. There it is on screen. And for ESO, right, we didn't have to change this a whole lot, and it has to look great, it has to feel good, it has to have great content and storytelling. The PvP system has to be awesome. And the most important part, the 5-year part, is, of course, all of you. Because if you have a great community, then a great community will make sure that it's always a great community, because you welcome new players into the game, it's welcoming, and we had designed ESO to have the best community that we could with the way the guild system works. And but the reason why people play ESO for years and years and years is you. And that's just the way these games work. And we were acknowledging that right from the beginning.
I think you all should give yourselves a round of applause, right? I mean,
yeah.
You are what makes the game right now.
Well, and for as much as the game changed, not just over the last 10 years, but over the last 17 years, because even before we get to launch, how wildly that game changed and iterated, all of the stuff that you all added after Skyrim that did make it into the game before launch, plus all the stuff afterwards. But there's still that core, Matt, that kind of never, right? Those basic things of like
storytelling,
visually, like it's got to draw you in and give you a sense of place. It's got to be storytelling, and the way you all sort of leaned into, like, it's got to be about the player deciding how they want to play the game. Like, we can't mandate or take away choices. I mean, that was one Tamriel really was the final thing of like, we're getting rid of the rules about, you can't do this, because Elder Scrolls fans don't like can't. Right? I can't climb, I can't jump, I can't carry a spear.
Stand on that mushroom.
We riot. So
don't say spear.
Yeah, trust me, I know.
Do not say spear.
Believe me, I know. I have those battle scars. But the fact is that because that's what Elder Scrolls was really about, right? Like the mechanics of it can change a little bit from game to game, but those core tenets, it feels like they were there from the start, and they've been there all through, even if everything around it, whether it's character models or how interactive a place is. Because to Gina's point, like, I remember going into places before and like going around like, hey, what can I click?
Yeah,
nothing.
We didn't have that. Yeah,
nothing. And like,
we actually hired a bunch of interns. We called them click turns, and their job was to add little things that you could click on.
So when you go around the world and loot things, like you loot urns and stuff, none of that was in the game before 2012. And we actually hired 8 or 10 interns that just went to every room in the world and added clickies to that.
Make it interactive.
Yeah, and then we designed that so it could feed into the crafting system. And that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
So, from Skyrim. Thank you, Skyrim.
All right, well, we're going to say thank you to you both now for sharing these incredible stories that, I mean, we've never really been able to share with everybody before. And it's just been really special to have Pete here again and to have Matt here just reminiscing and sharing all of this
And
with you.
Gina, she was there too.
Oh, thank you.
From the start.
Yeah.
So, we are going to take a super quick break, and in just a moment, we're going to bring out some other folks from the ZOS dev team to talk more about pre-launch days. So sit tight, and we will be right back.
The storm is coming. The scent of war swirls in the air. As the imperial throne lies empty, the fate of all Tamriel rests on the strength of a common prisoner's soul. Evil awakens. A long-banished foe stirs. Those who would destroy Tamriel seek out dangers to their dark plot. And so death's long arm reaches out. It is the 582nd year of the Second Era. The drums of war are sounding. This is where our journey begins.
That was a work in progress video, right? That wasn't even our final video that we released. So little peek there.
Sorry, CJ.
Something from the vault, right? So we are going to continue on our discussion of the origins of ESO. I'm excited to introduce some new members here on stage. I'd like to introduce everybody first. So first we have our creative director, Rich Lambert. We have our lead gameplay producer, Yvette Nash. We have our live services director, Joe Burba. Joe's my boss, so if you have nice things to say, go find Joe after this. And if you don't have nice things to say, then you can find the exit. And then lastly, we have our lead combat designer, Brian Wheeler.
Yeah.
Now, you all have held some very unique roles over the years. It hasn't always been the one that you're in right now. And you've really played an integral part of bringing this video game to life. And we know that every team and discipline sort of has like an initial step when kicking off production of a game. So Rich, let's start with you. As a designer for ESO originally, where did you start?
So I was actually originally a producer. So Matt and Pete talked a little bit about how I was a producer on Oblivion. And then when I came over, I wanted to really focus on the creative side of things. So I was actually the lead dungeon designer, worked a lot on that. Worked with the tools and designing tools and things like that. So yeah, and then I went from there to lead content designer, and then now I'm the creative director.
I actually remember very, very early on, we would play test your dungeons, and he put something in. It was the treasure chest.
Yes.
It was the treasure chest. So we would
Exploding
run around
traps.
and like, you know, there was always one treasure chest that was a trap, and it would blow up when you opened it and wipe your entire group. He thought it was hysterical, but everybody else was like, maybe we don't want to do it.
So many Gina F-bombs during those runs. So many.
maybe a few. Yvette, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself, actually, and just your history at ZOS and in the industry?
So I started with ZOS in 2010. I joined as a producer. I've gone up the producer track my 14 years there. So I was a producer, senior producer, and now lead gameplay producer. I actually entered the industry as a computer programmer and with Mythic Entertainment. And Matt Fire was actually one of the people that interviewed me there and got me hired. So.
I remember Matt was also one of my interviewers, and he walked in and he was like introducing himself. Hi, I'm Matt Fire, and I just go, I know. Joe, what about you?
So I started about 12 years ago. I had actually worked at NCSoft on City of Heroes. For those of you who are older, remember that game, which was awesome.
It's a great game.
And
absolutely great game.
Yeah. See, there's that one guy. But Paul Sage worked on Tabula Rasa, and after he had come to work at ZeniMax, every couple of months he would call me and go, "Are you ready to move to Baltimore yet?" And I was like, "No." And then he called me on a really bad day at work. And I was like, well, he was like, "Just come for dinner." And so I had dinner with Yvette and Paul, and I knew I was home.
Yeah, The Wire, by the way, is the worst recruiting tool ever.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, it is called Charm City. So it has its
That was
charm.
a different kind of charm.
Yeah.
Wheels?
Oh, let's see. I've been in the industry since '99. Actually, I started doing like late night tech support and help for people calling in about Morrowind, like way back then. But from there, I met contacts that got me into Mythic to work on Dark Age of Camelot and Warhammer Online. That's where I met Yvette. That's where I met Matt, a bunch of people back at the studio. And from there, they were like, "Hey, do you want to come work with us up here at ZeniMax?" I was like, "Okay, sure, let's give it a shot." And they were like, "Coming up, make PvP." I was like,
Yeah, make
do it.
PvP.
Make PvP. Just get right to it.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
All right, so Rich, going back into kind of dipping your toes into ESO, like where did you start in that timeline?
I mean, it was really small, right? We were really small, and we were focused on a couple of things. It was the lore. It was working with BGS on discussions. You know, I remember sitting in meetings where we were pitching things that had never been seen before in the lore. So, you know, the High Elves, for instance, you know, they had never actually been realized. And we're in meetings with Todd, and we're like, "Well, what does it look like?" He's like, "I don't know. You draw something, and I'll tell you if I like it or not, right? I'll know it when I see it." And so it was that kind of stuff because we were really forging ahead on things. And then once we started, you know, figuring out the lore and the stories and how that worked, then we started trying to figure out, like, how the heck do we build this? Like, we needed tools, we needed all kinds of things. And so I started working on a lot of that with a bunch of other people. And it's kind of crazy that most of those tools are kind of mostly intact now. And then from there, we started digging in on, like, pen and paper prototypes where we'd sit down and we'd, oh God.
Oh God. That
The original office.
Oh my God. Where we would literally do like pen and paper prototypes of combat and things like that, and we'd sit down and
That
we'd
was
play.
you sitting there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of us in there actually.
Yeah.
You know, I think Andrew was in there too. And then once we got all that together, we started, you know, prototyping in an engine. And after about 9 months, we presented something to the entire company, and nobody's ever seen this before. So take a look. This is what we did to kind of show off and prove to the studio and to ZeniMax that we could build something. And I haven't seen this in years. Oh my God. So you can kind of see, you know, Matt Pete talked about WoW with Oblivion, with whatever. And yeah, this is memories. Holy cow.
Very geometric. Yeah.
I remember seeing that, like when I got hired, and they were like, "Look, you can edit terrain on the fly."
Oh, the tools were unbelievable. Like
I was like, "Holy, that's badass!"
Yeah,
like get in that.
We could literally have a world builder check an area out, paint the terrain, raise and lower it, do whatever, check it in, and everybody would see it instantly. There was no offline building. There was not like it was really cool tech.
It sounds cool to you. Everyone else is.
It was really cool tech. No lighting, no offline building, no waiting days for the next build. Like it was just there, and we could go in and we can iterate and prototype. It was amazing.
Wheeler, what about you? Like, where did you start with all of
Oh,
this?
the start conversations were crazy about Cyrodiil because it was when you look at Oblivion, obviously it's a much bigger space than just the space we have right now. And the conversations were, Cyrodiil was a jungle back in the day, and we had to have many debates about, well, what does a jungle really mean? We had our lore master, Lawrence, kind of give me the green light of saying, well, a jungle can be interpreted as like it was the Wild Wild West, so it wasn't like, it's a jungle out there. So that kind of gave us a bit of carte blanche to take the area and make it our own. And there were a lot of discussions back and forth with BGS about that, too.
Yeah.
Because they were like, you can't mess it up too much.
But look what we kind of did in Gold Road.
Oh, yeah.
There's a nod to the lore there, right?
Yeah. And we got a height map from them, which is basically a grayscale thing that we could import.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Oh,
Look at that
this picture.
Look at that.
Yeah, this was an original, here are the biomes of Cyrodiil, and you can see the Superman shape that we came up with, because it had to be equal from all three sides. But you can see how, the bottom portion, we were, it has to be very summery, and in the middle was autumn, and we had to have the Great Forest represented.
Right.
And, of course, the snowy north.
What year is that from? That's like 2009?
Oh, God, that was 09, 010. Yeah. So I think that was way, way back then. And that was way before we even had keeps put into the...
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was crazy.
Yvette, you're in the hot seat. Where did you start?
So I started early on with classes in combat. So it was interesting because even though there was so much discussion around lore and the classes, the Elder Scrolls lore is so rich. There was no reason to go lore first classes. It was like, no, let's make the classes because the lore is just going to wrap around those classes. So the emphasis was, the trilogy, tanking, healing, DPS. And at the time, of course, WoW was the bar, right? That's what kind of people knew the most. So there was a lot of WoW clones being made early on. And we were just like, this doesn't feel right. So the real challenge early on was, how do we get a TES feel into the classes? The team had to really, really work on that for a long time. So it's very, very interesting.
A very long time.
Very long time.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll get there in a little bit.
Now, Joe, you came in a little bit later once the game was sort of already in development. And so what was kind of your first step going into the company?
So working on the live service, Bethesda didn't have a live service. They didn't really have customer service. They definitely didn't have a way to take money from customers. They definitely didn't have account systems or any of that kind of stuff that a lot of publishers, MMO publishers would. So we had to start there. We had to start from scratch and hire a whole bunch of customer service people and actually build a billing system, account system. We had to, get everything outside of the actual game experience. And then we had to be able to take the game from them and then,
run it.
And then build data centers and then put the game on the data centers and get that process to be reliable and figure out what to do if it falls over in the middle of the night. So it was a lot of things that ZMI didn't have that we had to put together from scratch. And as big of a job as that was for someone who has worked in the industry for a long time, the ability to actually do that from scratch was a very intriguing thing to do.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to continue to kind of set the stage here. Everyone's got their work mapped out. Why don't you all talk us through how you worked harmoniously together, or maybe even bumped heads?
No, we did.
We did.
Joe, we're going to start with you.
So beta, yeah, that's kind of where everything starts to come together. We had some internal play tests, CMI, but then we started to do friends and family and kind of that regular. But that's when, we've got everybody in the room together. We've got Ed Defoe and Amy Dunham, and Amy Dunham is like secret whispering into Ed Defoe's what to do, and
oh my
we've
God,
got Wheels in there and trying to keep Wheels from killing too many players.
Look, we only had so many GM accounts, and at least we had them, but we had to do things live back in the day, like hot live.
Yeah, so it was sort of the coming together of everything, and then actually being able to have players and start building that community out and making that what we wanted that to be. So that was a lot of working together. There wasn't too much headbutting in there. We were just trying to survive.
There was permissions. If we had to fix a keep that was busted in beta, I was like, Joe, I need to change this.
Yeah.
Joe was like, what do you need to do? I was like, well, it's Ald Mary, but it shouldn't be. He goes, All right, flip it. So during beta, if you were in the middle of the keep, not Chalamo, and it flipped on you by accident,
Remember the Chalamo?
my bad, sorry, I had to do it.
Is anybody here in beta back in 2014? Oh, yeah.
Wow, look at
that.
Okay.
Nice.
Love it.
Now, Yvette, let's talk a little bit about naming the classes.
Naming class.
That was a thing.
That was a thing. It's still a thing.
still a thing.
14 years later, it's still a thing.
Still a thing.
But naming aside, of course, because we always want to keep with the lore and everything. But all that eventually got ironed out. But early on, Rich was our Mike Finnegan, so he was the encounter and the dungeon guy.
You were loud?
No, I was not that loud.
I was
Never that loud.
Never that loud.
Never.
But
Lies? Is that what I heard?
But Rich is trying to build encounters and he's trying to build dungeons, and the classes weren't ready. And so I remember feeling so bad because we would be having in meetings, he'd be like, "What are we doing? Where are my classes? Where are the classes?" And so that was always a really fun conversation.
It was so bad, I had to make basic, like, healer class.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Fighter class.
some of the most fun, though. Like, Wheeler would be like, "What do you need?" I'm like, "Well, I need a tank, I need a healer, and I need a damage dealer." And so he'd be like, "Okay." And he'd go in and he'd whip something up and we'd play test it and be like, "That sucks, don't do that."
Yeah.
And he'd go back and forth, and then he made this healer that I was like, "Oh my God, let's do this," right? Like, it was awesome. And then things change as you progress through, and Skyrim came out, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, we had to flush those old ideas. Like, no, can't do that anymore.
Everything's different now.
Yes.
All right, well, let's pivot to talk about some pivots. We know in game development, not everything kind of goes as planned. Not everything goes swimmingly, right?
Yeah, Skyrim.
Like, Skyrim happens, right? I mean, things just happen, right?
Yep.
So working on ESO in the pre-launch days, can you recall any major pivots that actually ended up benefiting the players in the end?
Mega servers.
Yeah, oh man.
Yeah, that's right, because we didn't plan on doing mega servers.
Mega servers. We were going to have a whole bunch of servers like some other MMOs out there. But there are a lot of, just from a community perspective, the ability to start on launch day and find your friends and play together when you have 500 different servers and you're trying to, and they've all got lore names that you can't remember. And,
right.
Or
You have to coordinate with all your friends.
For, Elder Scrolls, oh my gosh. Tech gets together and decides we're gonna do mega servers, and so that was a major pivot at the time, and it
was just a mind-blowing.
It was really hard on poor Wheeler.
That was a nightmare.
We want everybody to play on the same server.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I was like, "We're just what?"
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when that came out, when you were like, the whole thing came down of we need mega servers, I was like, all right, well, we're going to have North America and Europe. We can't have literally an entire continent in Cyrodiil. And when we started playtesting with, keeps and having physics stuff and adjust, we had playtests on a regular. We still have playtests on a regular basis in the studio. And we had good old Glade Mist set up in Cyrodiil, and we had a version of Cyrodiil that some people were on and another version that other people were in. And the walls were getting destroyed in version 1. And people were able to, shoot through the walls and, kill people fine when the walls got broken down. But in this one over here, the walls were fully up. But people were still getting shot through. We were like, what is going on? This makes no sense. So I had to
mega servers.
Yeah, I had to go talk to Ed, who's our lead engineer, and he goes, yeah, that's a problem. Because apparently they were sharing what we call a physics process, which is it knows the walls are there. And it thought the walls that existed here were over here. So people were like running through walls left and right in this one and going, dude, Wheeler, your stuff is broke. So that turned up where we had to come up with a campaign system and like having that stuff all split out. Yeah, God.
Look at that early on.
Oh my Lord.
All right.
This is when we first got walls breaking.
Oh my gosh.
And this is me doing my GM account movement stuff. But yeah, this was...
That was
way
when
back.
Did you sneak that in?
What?
When did you sneak that in?
I mean, I snuck in that gray box stuff. God knows how many years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that was...
You saved a lot of stuff on your machine
You did.
years ago.
Yeah. I have like the archive of all the old stuff from even back in 2009. I've saved everything. Every time I get a new computer, I have to have that hard drive like backed up and saved because of stuff like this. Where people
Now, we talked about Skyrim a little bit earlier. there was a pretty major pivot, I think, thanks to Skyrim, right, that you had to help with.
Yes, yes. So, you know, the combat system at the time was very button mashy, right? You're looking at the UI, your abilities are lighting up. So very, very well.
That's how Yvette plays games.
That's how I play games.
That's how she types, too.
That's how I type, too, yes. So, of course, Skyrim comes out, and Matt alluded to this earlier. You know, in Skyrim, you're playing the world. You're not looking at the UI. You're not looking at mini maps and things like that. And so the challenge became, how do we incorporate that into ESO? How are we going to make it so that you're playing the world? And so one of the programmers at the time, he was inspired by one of the Batman games at the time with the reticle system in that game.
Yeah.
And he went off and prototyped it and brought it back, and we affectionately called it the Column Cam because that was his name.
Yep.
And so it was turned down originally, but as Skyrim came out, it just made sense.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked. The reticle system worked. The only major downside, which was another major pivot within a pivot, was that healing now was broken. Like the reticle system completely changed healing in the game. So we had to start healing all the way from scratch again. So that was a major challenge for the team, major pivot, but they did it.
There was no more whack-a-mole, right?
There was no more whack-a-mole. No more.
It's not AAA if you
no more button pushy.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Rich, what about you? I know from the design side, I mean, there was a lot that kind of had to change, right? Thanks to Skyrim.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons, right? Like, design-wise, it was, you know, WoW meets Daok meets Oblivion. And then Skyrim came out, and it was very, very different, right? Like, it wasn't just walls of text. Like, it was super immersive. It was super interactive. We had to kind of pivot on some of those things. We had to go back to the kind of drawing board on how we told stories. You know, no more kind of hub and spoke. We had to go back to something a little different where you just wander the world and find things.
Find stuff, yeah.
Which is interesting because that was one of the things we kind of like first prototyped way back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember Tulun.
Oh, geez.
Way in the
Way
OG days. You know, that was kind of that thing, and we ended up kind of going back to it, which was cool.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's funny. Like you can kind of see in some of the videos that we were showing, like the game just looked different back then.
Yeah, it was very
like it played different, it looked different, and having to, I mean, pivot is like an understatement. It's like you have this giant ship, and it's like, all right, let's start turning it now.
So our art style, like you kind of saw in that 2008 video, and obviously that was, you know, a rough prototype, but our art style changed literally 3 times. And Jared Carr, who's retired now, he came in and he basically redid with his team the art from basically blew everything out. They kept the major footprints, but blew everything out, redid it to what you see today. And they did that in like 18 months.
I think the Bretons were redone 5 times.
Yeah, like it was unbelievable how quickly they were able to redo it. And we have that same art style now.
That's a pretty major decision, though. Like, I mean, you know, I know Matt and Pete talked a lot about how Robert really kind of trusted us to do what we thought was right for the game, but I mean, we're already years into development at this point, and making those kinds of decisions that affect, you know, potentially years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
It is, and I mean, some of that is game development, right? Like, game development isn't an exact science.
It never goes in a straight line, right?
Like, it's never you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. It's you do this, oh shit, do this, right? Oh shit, do this, right? Like, that's just kind of what it is.
Producers' worst nightmares.
I was going to say, when you're kind of making those plans as a producer, do you pad the time to account for things like that?
You just cannot account for that kind of major pivot. You just kind of like, okay, well, now we're in April.
Let's just
start
throw it all
then
in,
we'll just keep going from here at this point.
Yeah. So we're going to give you a chance to kind of give yourselves a pat on the back a little bit. Why don't you talk about something that you did or that you helped with in the pre-launch days that you are particularly proud of? Yvette, you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So one of my literally my initial role when I came on board was the localization producer. And so I took really great pride in working with someone I worked with at Mythic as well, an outside consultant, and really, we wanted to make the game an excellent translation, and we really wanted to make an immersive experience for our German and French players. And then we decide that we're going to VO the game.
That's another thing. Yeah,
that's
at the
another.
beginning, it was not fully VO'd.
It was not fully VO'd.
It was great walls of text.
Oh yes, yes. So we decided that we're going to VO the game, but the tech was timed in English. So our French and German VO actors had to fit their lines within the English VO timing. They are the unsung heroes in the background of the VOing. And let me tell you, it was quite the challenge. I'm really proud of how all that turned out, and it's amazing.
I still, to this day, have no idea how we did it. Like, it was literally one-shots. It was fire this line and wait till it was done and then play the next line. And that's how we timed things.
Yes.
Because we totally didn't plan on doing VO at all.
And we literally had to export how long did the English take? And so the actors could see, okay, that took 30 seconds, that took 15 seconds. And they had to practice in getting that VO in those time frames. So whether they had to shorten it or make it bigger. So it was quite the challenge.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Well, I don't know German, but I do know German words are really long. Yes. There's a lot of consonants in there, so
yes.
Props to the VO actors for sure. I only know English, all right? Joe, what about you? What's something that you're proud of?
I mean, just launching the game and, having everybody play and together. I think we had worked so hard for so long.
Oh, the old war room.
Is that shaving?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
You have hair. You have hair.
I have hair in that picture. That's
Oh, I forgot about the head shaving.
Yep.
And then one of our engineers had grown his hair out during the entire beta process, and it was launch day, so he cut his hair on that day. That's the guy who ran our knock cutting his hair. But we had worked so hard and for so long, and especially the last 18 months were pretty intense.
It was a blur.
Being able to get in the game with all of you and play together and make guilds and talk to people and just have a good time that first couple of weeks, even though I don't remember a lot of it. Very tired.
You didn't sleep.
We were there
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Weeks. Yeah.
Yes.
But it was awesome.
Very good friends.
Just launching was awesome. It was such a culmination of so many people working for so long and so hard and pivoting so many times.
Yeah.
That was the original war room.
Yeah.
Now we have the digital war room where we have to track so many more things now. So trying to get those communications fired off so much faster nowadays we couldn't do it like that anymore.
No, not at all. No
way.
Wheels, what about you?
Honestly, the PvP crew back in the day making Cyrodiil was really tight-knit. It was a bunch of us that was a combination of Mythic crew, but also some new blood that we hired in to get the world building done. We had a consistent rotating door of world builders that learned how to build PvP terrain, to work with all the crazy inlaid systems that exist in Cyrodiil, and everybody was bought into it, from me as the lead all the way down, all the way through QA. And I had to pay some form of homage to those guys and girls. So we had a lot of people in game. We have Yvette in the game barking orders at Greg and Ben doing laps in the Ebonheart territory. So if you know Nash UV, that's her. We have a lot of
I'm nice.
We have a lot of dogs in Cyrodiil that are dedicated to people. Rich's dog is in there. My dog's in there. Link. We have a lot of characters that are just echoed all throughout Cyrodiil. So I had a lot of pride in the gang, and they actually. They surprised me on launch day, and I didn't tell you guys this. They gave me a signed poster of everybody from the team of Iren, doing the charge symbol.
Nice. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
I have it on my wall at home still, and the whole original crew signed it. So I was just ridiculously proud of them to get something as massive as Cyrodiil created, and it was just special getting that out there for everybody to play.
I remember we were creating a video in Cyrodiil.
Oh, God.
We had the whole company jumping in Cyrodiil, and somebody, I forget who it was, we all had desk phones at the time, and they put it on speaker.
It was Todd.
That's right. That's right. It was Todd.
Todd Keister.
And it was kind of like a 3-2-1 go thing. We all had to run, I think, across the field or
We had to
whatever
go jump over. It was the 2012 video.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was
We
that
had to
one.
Coordinate all that.
And I remember they were like, okay, now don't jump. Like, we just had to run. But it was like, hold still until they say go. And there was always one guy that was just jumping around.
It was herding cats.
And then it
literally herding
really
cats.
was. And it's like, guys, we just want to get this video done. And it's like, there's the little guy jumping.
And you know how we
Stop jumping!
You know how we fixed that?
Did we just kick him out?
Todd literally walked to that person's office and ripped his keyboard out of his computer and walked away. Literally, that's what he did. He was so frustrated.
Well, because there's always one. Like, when you're going through a group, like, there's always, that one clown in the corner who's jumping around. Right?
Everybody's smiling in the crowd. They're like, I know that
that's
person.
me.
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Yeah. Rich, what about you? What's something that you're proud of?
Can I have two things?
Okay, we got time for two things.
Okay, two things. So I have kind of a dumb one, and then I have a good one. So
well, please, the dumb one.
The dumb one first, right? So as dumb as it sounds, I'm really proud of doors. The doors in ESO, like, it's kind of a developer joke. Like, doors are a lot harder than you think they are to do. But I literally worked with Greg Klein, who's one of our lead artists.
Greg, I think, has been there longer than you, right?
He's been with the company for 22 years. Yeah, or 23 years.
One of the few that's longer than you.
And he was actually one of the guys that was making the IHRA drag racing game when I started up there. But Greg and I worked really hard on getting doors in the game because they weren't animated, they didn't do anything. And I built a test area that had 300 and some odd doors. Every unique door that we had in the game so that Greg could go in and animate every single one of those doors.
I'm sure he loved you for that.
He did, and QA loved it too because they could just go and test all those doors because then we could just clone them and put them out. But I am super proud of the team. Getting us to launch was a huge thing. It was a massive thing. We worked really hard. It was 7 years. But I'm even more proud of what we did after. Because, Matt and Pete talked about, launch wasn't exactly right. We were kind of this in the middle of MMO and Elder Scrolls game. And the team really came together. Like, there were some dark times there. And they came together, and we picked a direction, and they all bought in, and they all jumped in, and they all did it, and they worked their butts off. And we're here now, 10 years later, with this runaway success of a game, right? So we couldn't have done that without Robert. Robert was the guy that said, go fix your shit, right? I believe this. I want to do this. You guys have a core idea that is amazing. Go make it. And we did. So that's my biggest proud moment.
Yeah. That's really sweet, Rich. That was really nice. Yeah, I was going to say, let's give, not just Robert a round of applause, but everybody at the studio, we know, you all are here, and we have a number of people from the studio here lucky enough to be at Amsterdam at this event, but there's so many more at home, and hopefully, watching on stream, and we couldn't do it without them.
No, it literally takes a village.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
There are so many people from, QA to all the behind-the-scenes art folks to all of our CS folks, right? It just runs the gambit. Our engineering team, designers, writers, it's huge. There's PR, there's sales, right? It just goes on forever. All the people that put this together.
The publishing team, the events team, there's so many
It's a
people,
massive
right?
thing. And to be able to be together for as long as we have and make something that we have is amazing.
Yeah. All right. Last question. It's going to be a fun one. I'm sure the four of you have some crazy stories or maybe some fun memories from over the years, maybe something that we've never told anyone before, a little tidbit. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of everybody that we would love to hear at least one thing from each of you.
One thing from each of us.
Or
can I go first?
Or more. Yeah, whatever.
Okay. So how about Cadwell? So Cadwell, you all know and love.
Yes.
He wasn't actually originally a character we were planning on making. He wasn't part of the main story. He wasn't even an inkling in anybody's eyes. And then one day we found out that we were able to get John Cleese to voice, and we were like, oh shit, we have to use this. He's such a cool voice. So we wrote him into the main story.
And at the time it was Win and Bill Slavisek spent a lot of time writing this character into the main story to make it fit. And you wouldn't know it now because he's so tightly integrated, but that was a pivot. Like that was something special.
Yeah. You had something else, maybe?
I mean, I have a whole bunch of things. I mean, we've been working on this game for 17 years.
Just one more.
One more. How about Rivenspire? So Rivenspire is this really cool zone. It's kind of dark and whatnot. Super polished, super amazing, but it wasn't always that way. Internally, we call it Revisionspire. Because we literally bulldozed that zone like 5 times to get it right. And we have learned a lot in that time. Our processes have changed a lot because of that. But yeah, that was tough. I really felt bad for that team.
I remember the playtest, dude. It was like playtest. Rivenspire, we're like, shit, again?
Right. Shit again, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe, why don't you go next? I'm sure you've got something.
So something that it's not really a secret, and especially if you played on the EU server at launch or in beta, is that the EU server, when we launched, was actually in North America. So
there's a reason for that, though.
There's a reason for that. We had some assorted mishaps. There may have been some server hardware that got hit by a forklift or something, because we had to order all this stuff and build all these servers and install them in the data centers and do all the things. It's a massive IT project, like Matt likes to say.
That was an expensive oopsie.
And it was a very
expensive problem.
Forklift pierces servers.
Yeah.
Not something you'd hear.
Yeah, so in order to launch, we actually built the EU server in the North America data center, launched that way, and then about 2 months afterwards, we got it all, got all the hardware there, set it all up, and then took a maintenance, moved all the data over, brought it back up, and
it was just magic.
And then it just like magic, it works. Wheeler, you haven't gone yet.
So in development, there's up times and down times, but but you're still working on things. And between Cyrodiil design and Cyrodiil building, we had to make the character creation. And they were like, all right, Wheeler, you have some time, make the character creator. So I had to work with a lot of the artists. Tatiana was one of them on this. And she's a very animated person. And we were going through the character creator, and there were lots of sliders and lots of various ways that you can make your characters look back in the day. And this was like the OG character creator. And there were, that's the orc. But the triangle's still there. That is still to this day. But this was like the original character creator. And you can see some sliders there. But Tatiana was very like, no, we must have booty sliders and chest sliders.
I had a feeling that was her.
Yeah, you're right.
And
that tracks for Tatiana.
Back then, like when we were trying to dial in the values, like you could get some curves. So yeah, the character creator had a lot of evolution too, but that was a lot of fun to work with because it was out of the normal flow of things. Like you go from making people kill each other to no, make them look pretty.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's see how this works. But it was really, really cool working with a lot of artists. But those sliders, man, you could do some hands the size of your leg and just. It was a lot of fun doing that.
Very, very exaggerated, right?
Yes.
Yvette, why don't you bring us home here?
So mine isn't a crazy story. And so, like most startups, there's this family feel, especially when you're small and you're going through these pivots and these challenges, and people really come together. I really miss the ability that we had to meet outside of Matt Firer's office for our studio updates, for our sprint reviews. It was so nice because everybody was together in one area, and it just really, you felt the camaraderie, you felt the family feel, and I really miss that. So those are my fondest memories.
It was like this. Honestly, it was like this when you got in front
of everybody. A little smaller, yes.
A little smaller.
About half.
A lot smaller.
Tighter. And we would meet right outside of Matt's office. Yeah. I miss those days.
I mean, I remember really early on, we would just all get into your van and go to lunch. The whole company would fit in Rich's van, and we'd go get barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were good times.
We would walk downstairs to the dentist's office because we could.
Yep.
All right. Well, super huge thank you to all of you for just taking the time and sharing some of these stories with everybody. I mean, I think I speak on behalf of everybody here. It was a real pleasure to be able to just hear some of this for the very first time and be able to, wasn't that a song?
Yeah, but it
feels like the very first time.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah, again, this is just, you know, the early days of development we were talking about. We're going to be sharing a lot more over the next 15 months, celebrating the 10 years of ESO. But again, thank you to the four of you. A big thank you to Matt and Pete from earlier for sharing things with us. We hope that everybody had a great time watching, both on stream and in person. But now, I think we're going to wrap up our live stream portion. Okay. And we're going to kind of get the party started here in Amsterdam. Woo! So thank you, everybody.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I am standing here with ZOS Studio head Matt Firer. Matt, hearing about the origins of the game, everything that's happened the last 10 years, now standing here at this celebration event, I have to ask, how does it feel?
I mean, it's amazing. It's all about the people, right? And you get to spend a whole day with people that love ESO. It's amazing. You know, we did a stage show, we did a panel on the history of ESO, and it's great just talking about it with people that love and appreciate the game, because this game is all about the people that play it.
Yeah, and so of everything going on here today, what has been your favorite part so far?
Meeting the players, right? And because we're players too. We love the game as much as they do. We don't just work on it, we actually play it. So just sitting down and talking about the game and talking about our shared passion, you know, it makes it all worthwhile. We're the developers, so we sit in our office, you know, for months at a time, and coming out and meeting the players is like the highlight, you know, of the year for us. So I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the energy here today has been amazing. And so I know that you don't have a crystal ball and you can't share too much, you know, but I do want to ask, what does in just a word or two, what does the next 10 years of ESO hold for us?
I've been asked that question a few times. You know, I think really if you look back at the last 10 years, you'll see that with ESO, we'll make changes when we think we need to make changes. So looking forward, who knows? But we'll change with the times as the times change. But for right now, we love what we're doing and we're not going to change it.
Yeah, amazing. And Matt, thank you so much for the time.
Pleasure.
It's been great talking to you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. I know that I will.
So much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a little bit ago, we gave you a look at everything happening here in person at the celebration, and I think in a little bit, Julian and I are off to try our hand at axe throwing again. But before we do that, let's give away that Xbox controller. We are giving away an Xbox Elite Controller Series 2. Type ESO10 in chat to enter and exclamation point rules to see full terms and eligibility. And while you're entering, we want to remind people, if you pre-order Gold Road, before it launches, you'll receive the Welkenstone Runes Wolf Mount. And whether you're a new, current, or returning player, there's a version of Gold Road that's right for you. So head on over to ElderScrollsOnline.com to find yours. And we showed you a sneak peek a little bit ago. The Gold Road Prologue Quest is now live in game. It's free to play. Head over to the Crown Store. You can grab the quest starter there.
Yeah, and don't forget that we're currently having our free play event that runs until the 9th of April. So grab your fans and have some fun together in Tamriel. And also, if the free play event isn't enough, there are also sales happening on all platforms with up to 75% off. Crown packs are also on sale, so be sure to check out those deals.
Thank you so much to all of our incredible partners who helped us make this event a success and such a fun place to be. Speaking of which, it's time to give away that controller. We'll give it just a few more seconds, so if you only just tuned in, we're giving away an Xbox Elite controller. This one is themed to the ESO 10-year anniversary.
And if you haven't entered yet, type ESO10 in chat, all in one word. Get those entries in, and we're closing the giveaway right now.
And it looks like we have our winner. We'll be reaching out via Twitch Whispers shortly, so please keep an eye on your DMs. And while we're talking about giveaways, I want to remind everyone that we have giveaways happening today and tomorrow across all of our social channels, so make sure you're following along there because we have a lot of really great stuff that we're giving away.
Yes, and thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors for sponsoring a lot of the giveaways on social media and also here on site. They've really helped to make this event feel special. It was our pleasure to welcome all of the community to ESO in Amsterdam, and we'll have more information on upcoming in-person anniversary events in the future, so follow along on our social media for more info and keep an eye on our local Bethesda and ESO channels for more details. We have our local ESO 10 celebration in 2 weeks at Elvia in the Netherlands, and there are just a few tickets left, so grab those while you still can.
Thank you for tuning in and joining us for our 10-year anniversary live stream. If you missed any part of the stream, your opportunity for drops, or you just want to watch it again, we'll be airing the broadcast again at 3:30 p.m. ET. We hope to see you at one of our anniversary celebration events in the near future. And until next time, we'll see you in Tamriel.